What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the JJSports podcast. I'm Joey.
And I'm Josh.
And let's get into our first topic today, which is basketball. So, Josh, I wanted to talk Knicks, obviously, but before I do, I want to talk about something very serious. I don't know if you remember, but a few months ago we talked about the seriousness of how to treat people, not too annoyingly, but just like when we talked about changing the name of the Cleveland Indians, right? And stuff like that. I don't know if you remember, and
Yeah.
how they were putting in the people from the Negro leagues, right? Like they were putting them as part of stats. So while we're on that subject, I just thought this is very important and it should not be mentioned. So we don't have to talk about it for a long time, but I do want to talk about it. So I don't know if you heard this, but the player from the Miami Heat went on Twitch and he used anti-Semitic slur. Now, whether it was out of his name is Myers Leonard, and whether it was out of ignorance or malice, it doesn't really matter. But just, do you have any thoughts on this? The league decided to fine him $50,000 and suspend him for a week. So, what are your thoughts on this? Because I think it's an important thing to talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Anti-Semitism is a thing that's been brought up by athletes all around sports. Just last summer towards the very end, you heard Deshaun Jackson saying things. Now you have Miles Leonard saying another thing, and who knows if anything is next. And you also have a bunch of athletes who are anti-Semitism and some who speak out against the people who do it, like Hall of Famer and all-time leading point scorer in the NBA, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And it's a delicate balance. Unfortunately, this is not something you want to see. When it goes toward anything, anti-Semitism is one, racism is another. Obviously, like more generally. So I don't stand by this, toward any, whether it's anti-Semitism or it's racism or anything of that kind. And like, you broke the rules, you pay the price. And it just whatever. I don't support him, and the NBA punished him. Like, he's gonna pay for his transgressions. So that's my thought. I don't have anything to say. I think it speaks for itself. It's just, it is what it is, and he's not getting away with it, to say the least.
I mean, yeah, the only question is is the punishment fit the crime? And I feel like, yeah, because I feel like a lot of people, like super people, like into this people would be like, fire this guy, cut him, or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like that's just not the way to go.
Yeah.
Even with like Deshaun Jackson, who I thought was a lot more harsh because he was saying he was like quoting Hitler and stuff. So he was a little bit worse, but still, I wouldn't ask for that guy to be fired. What I think should be done is that we just educate these people, say, hey, why do you say that word? Why is that a problem? Why shouldn't you say that word and stuff like that? You know? So it's just important that, we don't punish people entirely. Like, obviously he has to be punished, but we should not have to just get rid of him, erase him from the world, because then what kind of people would we be if we did that? You know?
Yeah. But look, this is not something that can go unpunished, towards any, towards any nation, religion, or nationality. And it's not. So credit to the NBA, who's looking out on all accounts of everything that Leonard did here.
I mean, yeah, I'm not we don't follow the NBA we follow NBA the least, but we gotta admit, Adam Silver, he does a great job.
Yes, he does.
He doesn't let these things go unnoticed. When Donald
Yes.
Sterling a few years ago said a racial slur on videotape, Adam Silver took it very seriously and he forced him to sell the team and stuff like that. So, he set a precedent that you should not, we're not just gonna let people say these words. So it's a good. I give props to the NBA for just not letting it slide entirely.
Buckling down on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've had the serious moment. Now we got to talk about what makes us NBA fans, what makes us Knicks fans. So, we watched the All-Star game. We talked about it, right? And so, like, we were just like, oh, what's to look forward to as a Knicks fan. So Julius Randle was there. Obi Toppin placed second in the dunk contest. But we all really were watching Team LeBron because Team LeBron, they were stacked. So it wasn't even a point, right? So we go into the break. Now we play the Bucks. We get smoked, but it's not really a surprise because the Bucks we're supposed to lose to them, but we get smoked, right? It doesn't help that Derrick Rose is out. But then we play a Thunder team who you don't know what to think, and we smoke them. And not only do we smoke them, but our boy Julius Randle hits another triple-double, Josh. What do you think of that? Huh? And RJ scores 32. So just wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. RJ Barrett was very hot the last 4 or 5 games prior to the All-Star break. And, Mike Breen and Clyde Frazier were mentioning it on the broadcast. Is this like the RJ Barrett the Knicks felt they drafted? Because he showed flashes of brilliance in his rookie year, but it was his rookie year. And he was the 3rd overall pick. Well, there's a lot of hype surrounding that. Obviously, you don't expect him or really any rookie to be perfect. And he showed that he's got the potential that he displayed when he was in Duke. Obviously a foreigner because he's from Canada, so he's not an American basketball player who's, new to the style of play. And taking his talents there, they drafted him 3rd overall. Great rookie season, definitely room for improvement though. And the first couple games he was a little shaky this season, but he started to become more consistent as the season's gone along and as the Knicks found their game defensively. One of the things Barrett's marvelous at, obviously, his one-on-one ability on offense, but Tom Thibodeau has really helped improve his defensive game as well, because last season he wasn't known for being an excellent defender. You're starting to see that more. Now in this game, I know I'm talking about defense. We're not here to talk about defense. He set his career high in points. So excellent to see that he's picked up right where he left off. And he had a pretty strong game against Milwaukee for the time he played. I know he didn't play as much as we're used to seeing him play. Him and Julius Randle are now getting, the top 2 minutes in team on average. Obviously, Reggie Bullock had a big part in this game too. We know what he could do from beyond the arc, but Randle a triple-double. I mean, he's just great. He's an all-star. He's shown us what he can do, and he hasn't seemed to have skipped a beat either. He played pretty well against Milwaukee, despite the fact the team got smoked. So either way. And Nerlens Noel, I want to point out on the rebounds. Once again, Mitchell Robinson isn't coming back for at least another 3 weeks, if you had to ask me. I think that he has started practicing with the team because he is already about 2.5, 3 weeks past his operation. So it was only taking about a month for him, they said, before he could, really start to get back into the swing of things. So I think little by little he'll take it. But Nerlens Noel has done nothing shy of spectacular, still filling in for him. And I know the Knicks got absolutely manhandled against the Milwaukee Bucks when they came back from the All-Star break. But you have to look back to also what they did right before the All-Star break. And I think in their last 10, they were like 8-2 or 7-3. And even so, like that's kind of carrying over. They cancel out a loss with a win. So that record is still around that 7-3, 8-2, maybe 6-4 at worst record over their last 10 games, obviously including before the All-Star break. And Joey, I don't remember if we talked about it last week, but the first 4 games they played coming back from the All-Star break are huge because they just played the Bucks in their first game and they got absolutely destroyed. But they played the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we know are not exactly the worst team, but they're nowhere near what they were back about 5-6 years ago when they had Durant and Westbrook and Serge Ibaka and that core of players.
Steven Adams,
Steven Adams
and
there.
they got Paul George, and then they got Chris Paul.
And then they were still a great team without Kevin Durant at that time. With that all being said, now we don't know what to make of them. They have a really nice young player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So, but I don't think he played on Saturday. I think that he was in COVID-19 protocol. So not to say that the Thunder still would have won the game with him, but definitely would have been closer had they had him. On the other hand, the Knicks, though we know, have played excellent defense all year long. I think they're still a top 5 team defensively in the NBA. They held the Thunder to under 97 points. And their next 2 games are huge because they get the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets, although I'm not sure if it's in that order or in reverse order, as I mentioned.
Nets first.
It's Nets first, and that's tonight.
Yeah.
So,
and I really hope we can pull it off, man. I mean, KD's out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And we're
And
playing
both times they lost, they played against the Nets with KD.
right. So like it's big, you know. KD is like the real deal, you know. Well, not exactly, but he's still got stuff. So like without
Yeah,
KD, I don't think they're gonna have a defensive prowess. I don't think they're gonna be able to stop us from scoring. And they know, we could score, right?
yeah,
We don't have to worry about defense. You know, we got to worry about scoring
yeah.
because
He's a top 3 player, arguably in the NBA when completely healthy. Obviously, before the Achilles injuries and everything. Now he's definitely dropped off a little bit, but before all that, you could argue he was number 2,
yeah,
maybe number 3 afterwards with Giannis emerging onto the scene.
before the injury, he was number two, but I don't think
Yeah,
he's number two anymore.
yeah,
So I think just the bottom line is we need Derrick Rose back. You know, I think we
yeah. They do, they do.
because
Elfrid Payton has picked his game up offensively. Also, we know he's an excellent defender, but Rose provides more of a offensive spark to his game. And Derrick Rose, obviously not being there, Elfrid Payton now has to step up because he's the only point guard now, beside Frank Ntilikina. And Ntilikina, we know, obviously, I mean, he didn't score, but he didn't see so much time in this game. He only saw 7 minutes. He had an assist. He's a much better defender than Derrick Rose is. He's also a better, I think he's the best outside shooter in terms of the point guards on the team. He's very, very good generally from 3-point range. Elfrid Payton's the worst, and Derrick Rose is the second best of those 3 guys. But we know Payton is by far the best defender. And I mean, like, I want to give him props because he has done a great job since really the last, I want to say, since 3 games before the All-Star break up until now when Peyton came back. First when he came back to the Knicks after that hamstring injury, he was playing very well offensively. And also, we're talking about Randle. We've talked about Barrett and how Noel's filled in for Robinson. We haven't talked about Emmanuel quickly. He put up 21 points in 33 minutes, and he was electric from 3-point range. So
yeah,
I don't know, Joey. He's growing and he's growing fast as a player. I think
put
that
this guy in consideration for Rookie of the Year, man. No joke. Not
he
just
really could be.
It's not
You
just
know,
a Knicks thing. Like this dude is so freaking good. He's like very ready. You know, he's like an Adam Fox guy, like that just comes in and he seems so prepared, even though it's his first year playing. Like it's insane.
yeah.
You know?
He said he modeled his game when he was interviewed just coming into the league and after he had an opportunity to play against the Trailblazers. He said he modeled his game after Damian Lillard. And it's true. What do they both do? They're both great outside 3-point shooters. Quickly is. He just is. Like he's electric off the bench. You know, obviously I'm sure he'll take that starting position over eventually. And we know he's not an excellent defender. But he gets the job done still. He's definitely serviceable there. And at the same time, we also know how effective he is when it comes to drawing fouls and getting to the free throw line and knocking down shots. He had 94% going into the All-Star break. I mean, that's ridiculous. Damian Lillard, just the same. We know how effective he is at drawing fouls, and he goes to the line for free throws. And that's just great players find a way to get points no matter how it is. And Quickly's doing that, and he's a rookie. He's a rookie. And he said also after the Portland game, beside the fact that he modeled his game after Lillard, that Lillard has worked with him, not actually physically in play, but behind the scenes about perfecting his game. So, like, that shows like Lillard's not even anywhere, like he's not in that conference. And I know the Knicks don't have a big effect on him in terms of, what his future could hold and how far he could go in the postseason, because it's not like they would knock him out. They don't play in the same conference, so they don't affect each other's chances of getting in the playoffs in the same standings. But I mean, like, that's a great gesture by Damian Lillard, if you ask me. A lot of people look up to him as one of the great players in the league, arguably the best point guard in the league, and definitely a great mentor. I mean, with this, to reach out to someone who has absolutely no connection to your team or to you, first time in the league. That's excellent. I think that's an excellent offer from Lillard. What do you think? Just beyond all that.
I mean, like you said yourself, man, this dude can shoot in so many different ways. I'd be so happy. I don't want to jinx it, but like if he could do what Damian Lillard does, like he just shoot far back as Damian Lillard, how cool, how amazing would the Garden light up after seeing a display? Because like think about having a Damian Lillard or Steph Curry like every other game, in the Garden, like on that team. Right, just the far shooting would just impress people and like, go light up the Garden like crazy. So if Quickly is even like a tenth of that, when they start bringing fans in, the Garden's going to be back to its former glory, and it's going to light the freaking sun up. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. I can't wait. This kid's got a bright future. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. And I think right before we close out with basketball, I'm going to add this last point, as you just mentioned with the Garden, bringing fans in and to see, what it would be like when they get back to full capacity. And I know this is about to be a big if, but if the Knicks can somehow get into the playoffs, no matter what, they're going to play at least 1 or 2 games at the Garden in the playoffs, whether they are the team hosting the series, whether they're the higher seed and they get the first 2 games in the series, or if they're the lower seed and they get the third and fourth games in the series. So at least going to play 2 games, very likely, if they make the playoffs, unless they decide to do some new playoff format because of the expanded opportunity to get into the playoffs this year. So I don't know if that's going to change, because we know baseball did something similar to that. And all 3 games, for example, in the wild card round were just, at one team, at the higher seeds team. It doesn't change. So I don't know if the NBA is going to do anything like that for the expanded opportunity to get into the playoffs. But for the teams that just make it in, and I would assume it'd be regular best out of 7, first 2 games at the higher seeds team, third and fourth game at the lower seeds team, 5th higher seed, 6th lower seed, 7th higher seed. All those last 3 games in the series, potentially, if necessary, obviously. But if they can get there, and I think they can, obviously it's a big if, but the way Thibodeau's changed that group and they play defense, they're still a top defensive team in the league. And you see against some of the worst teams, they're scoring big. They just put up 119 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are not a powerhouse, and even against the Celtics, the 1 game they had, they beat them bad. They beat the Bucks bad, even though they just got beaten bad by the Bucks. The only 2 teams they haven't beaten in this conference that are well ahead of them right now are the Nets and the 76ers and the Miami Heat, who aren't even that far well ahead. It just looks that way because of the seeding, but they're only 2 games ahead of the Knicks right now. That's just the reality. They're a game. Sorry. They're 1 game ahead of the Knicks. Other than that, they haven't beaten the Hornets, but the Hornets are tied with the Knicks in terms of games back right now. They're both only 1 game over 500. So, yeah, I think it's a big if, but I think that Garden, as I mentioned, will be rocking, as you've pointed out as well. And I think that as soon as, obviously it's getting closer, the playoffs are approaching us a lot faster than we realize, because we're already 39 games into the season. It's a 72-game season, so we're already more than halfway there. But with that being said, I'm sure that the attendance could definitely increase in terms of how many people they begin to let back into the Garden. I'm sure that we could see those numbers jump up. Obviously, a lot more people are getting vaccinated, and it's starting to go around a little less. So we'll see. But yeah, you make an excellent point to mention, what that atmosphere could be like if they can make it in that far.
I mean, yeah, we're in the 7th seed, but all from 4 to 7, it's 1 game difference. So we could go to 4 if we just
Yeah.
if those teams have bad luck and we have good luck, we could go all the way to 4. Just thinking about that. It's just it's very interesting. I've never seen a thing where from 1 to 10, every team's on a winning streak. It's very uncommon. Usually one of the upper teams lose or something like that. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where the remaining 12 games go. Was it 52, 56, 15, something like that? There's 15 games left. So very, very interested to see how the Knicks are going to do.
50, 30.
No, it's
33 games for the Knicks.
oh, I was thinking hockey. It's my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so 30 games. So it's a lot of games. A lot could happen. A lot can change. Let's go.
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready to go to the next topic. You agree, Josh?
Of course.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to just give me 1 second. I wanted to. Right. So I just wanted to talk about So there's news that MLB wants to make the bags bigger, like the bases. Two, possibly get rid of the shift and other things like that. So I wanted to know your thoughts on stuff like that because there's no more free agency. So I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I want to add something to you, Joey. They're deadening the baseballs this year. So what do you think
No,
about
I'm saying
that?
that was the third thing. They
Oh, that
made,
was the third. Well, you
yeah,
didn't mention it.
yeah.
Oh,
I
my
thought
apologies.
I cut off. I was saying that the pitchers notice the change. Like they notice who the lace
Ah,
that it's that the ball has deadened. So now we're gonna see how good a lot of these players who people think are good are actually good.
yeah. Well,
Because
in terms of the home run department, at least, because that's
for some
obviously
people it will go down, but not everybody. The real good players, they're
yeah.
gonna
They're gonna keep mashing
Mike
home runs.
Trout is going to still hit home runs.
Yeah,
I'll guarantee my guarantee. Okay,
yeah,
so it's just yeah. So like that's the first thing. What do
yeah.
you
That's
think
the
about?
first.
I think it's a necessary thing because I think too many people got too cocky about like obviously home runs are important. I think
Right.
I think, but like you can't just cheat people out of it. Like we had a whole controversy in the NFL because of a difference in quality of the footballs. Deflategate. So like let's just try to be realistic. It's
Right.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, in terms of deadening the baseball, I'm okay with that. It's not by a ridiculous margin. I still think there are going to be plenty of players hitting 38 home runs or more in a season that have been doing it before they juice the baseball. So obviously, a guy like Mike Trout, a guy like Mookie Betts, like Nolan Arenado, like Francisco Lindor, like Trevor Story, like Cody Bellinger, like all those guys, like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton as well. I'll throw some Yankees in there because I know you were getting tired of not hearing any. In terms of the other two things,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
in terms of the bases, I don't know what to think of that. I don't know how big an effect that really has with it. You don't really see players missing bases or not missing, but like it just, I don't know what to think of that. In terms of the shift, I disagree and I agree at the same time. I'd like to see more web gem plays. It'd be ridiculous to see a guy like Trevor Story and Francisco Lindor, who talk about as the two best fielding shortstops in baseball, are the guys who are making plays in the shift like crazy. But Francisco Lindor actually made a comment. He's like the one who's being the most vocal about it of all shortstops, because obviously the shortstop shifts all the way over to right behind second base. And now you've got third base playing shortstop. You've got the second baseman playing in shallow right field. And the first baseman is just at first pretty much, not really changing his position. But in terms of that, Francisco Lindor said, like, I don't want the shift. I want to know, like I know myself and I know my play style and how I can make plays. I'm confident and I'm comfortable with my ability and my range to get to balls that are going to possibly be hit through a gap, whether it's a righty batter or a lefty batter, no matter what. And I could get behind that. But what I can't get behind the fact is that if it statistically shows from a percentage that it's effective, then why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, overshifting, on the other hand, when your team is doing it every 5 seconds, that's obviously a little annoying. It takes time to obviously move your players because no one's sprinting into their position over there. They're not even sprinting when they get on the field if they're going to start shifting. So I don't know if you saw this, Joey, but I saw from Fuzzy who made his video and he talked about it, saying if it were up to him, and obviously he'd keep the shift, but he would limit it. So to say maybe if you have to have at least two fielders on each side of second base. So it's not to say that they can't play closer or farther away from each other, depending on how you want to play it or to where they would normally stand. So if the second base, if you're going to have a lefty come to the plate. So for the Mets case, I'll take, because they tend to shift, a little more than the other guys, with guys like Freddie Freeman and Juan Soto and Bryce Harper in their division, who are all very threatening left-handed bats. You have Pete Alonso, who's kind of playing the corner or playing right on the bag. You've got Jeff McNeil, who's going to be the second baseman this year, who's all the way out in shallow right field. And then you've got Lindor, who would normally be right behind second, but with the limitation and having at least two fielders on each side, you can have Lindor play as close to second as you want and have, say, JD Davis or whoever's going to start at third base, maybe Luis Guillorme, play where Francisco Lindor would normally play. So you can't bring Lindor all the way out toward where the second baseman would normally stand since he's in shallow right. But you can definitely, I think, have it that, I still think that's helpful because he can move after. It's just where he starts position wise. And with a guy like Lindor, especially, I mean, he's a 2-time Gold Glover. He's been talked in the Platinum Glove category. I would definitely trust him in order to feel confident in himself and comfortable with his ability and his range to make a play like that. I don't know if you have any other opinions about it, though.
I mean,
So let me know what you think.
I mean, what Lindor said was one of the dumbest things I ever heard. To just get rid of the shift.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Something that like analysts will agree is like so effective.
Yeah.
Just
I don't agree with getting rid of it, but I can understand how frustrating it can be when you're like doing it every 5 seconds.
There's a million things that are frustrating in baseball.
Yeah.
Okay. People don't like the 3-batter minimum. Okay. But like, it's
that's ridiculous. That is a little ridiculous. And Jock Peterson, I just want to say, like, the second Lindor put that comment out, like the very next game was the first game of the day. And what did Peterson do? Well, he's been mashing dingers all
spring training
long. He bunted against the shift. And it was basically a walk-on for a base hit. It was that crazy. So Lindor does have a point to say that, though.
No, but that's the point. Like, the game is not built around the players. The players have to adapt to the game. Okay. The game is an old age game. It's like played a certain way. You can't just mess with the game if it's not a real problem. If it bothers you, that's fine. But there's nothing wrong with having the shift. It's a statistical advantage that you can use to try to win the game. Just like stealing. What now? Are we going to say that we don't want to allow stealing anymore in the MLB? Oh, yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's annoying for me because I have to move out of the way. I want to throw as a cutoff man. No, I can't do it. It's annoying. I don't like it. It's annoying. Like, grow up. You're being paid millions of dollars. Okay. Maybe you can try to make it try to limit on it, but to just get rid of it.
No, I'm not saying to get rid of it, but but
that's
I'm the same department
that's
as you.
That's like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Like a professional baseball player, like, get rid of the shift. What if you don't think your team, when you're batting and you're down, could benefit from the shift? You don't think that could happen? Of course you could. Okay. Because you could do the same thing Jock did. You could bunt or something else, right? And you could win the game because people didn't shift properly, right? You could do that. So I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't like when people say that there's an advantage because at the end of the day, it's not really an advantage when everyone else could do it too. Okay. What the Astros did, that was an advantage. That was cheating. That was an advantage because nobody else could do the cameras. I mean, they technically could, but nobody else did it in their stadiums at the same time. Like, we don't know. So like, it wasn't fair. But the shift, everyone could do the shift. Everyone could still do it. Everyone could stupid.
Yeah, no, I'll agree. Like, and we both know Francisco Lindor is my favorite player. Like, this is not a Mets thing. This was before he was on the Mets back in 2017. Ever since that Grand Slam, yeah, I know what you're gonna say. I don't care anything. I'm not gonna go beyond that. The bottom line is that even I can't agree with this, And we both know how diehard a Mets fan I am. Like, it's just, I can understand if you want to limit it, but to just get rid of it, like, even Francisco Lindor, I don't know, could chase down every ball on the opposite side if he wouldn't, because that's where he would be playing in the shift. And for him to say he'd still get there, I like the confidence and I like, that
it's very unlikely
high for him. But I just even Francisco Lindor would have to prove himself before saying that in actually not shifting.
Yeah, like, just to say that you could get it every time, that's kind of hard to believe. You'd have to really show it. So you're kind of BSing right now, but whatever.
Look, I don't think anyone necessarily could. But if anyone could do it,
but even
I think Lindor would be the guy.
But even Mike Trout, who's like the best player of our generation right now, right? In this decade,
he's not like he is. He's not like
he's the best player in our decade. Like, even he wouldn't say something stupid like that. Because Mike Trout, he doesn't say anything. That's why when he does say something, it means a lot. Okay? Because when he says something, he really put a lot of thought into it. He really means what he says. He's not just BS. He really thinks about it. So just, Lindor, take a book from Mike Trout and just don't talk if you're not going to fully think it through. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. I know where you're coming from, but to get rid of it entirely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You must have had some bad food earlier. I don't know, somebody laced your cookies with weed or something. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened, but Anyway, but yeah, and then the third thing, the bases, making the bases bigger. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Like, how much a difference that really makes in the game.
So I
Like,
was thinking that
I
with
just
second
I
and
can't get
third,
it.
I was thinking with second and third, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But in first base, I think it makes a big difference
Oh, right, because trying to
because of
beat a
like,
ground
yeah,
ball.
because
Right,
especially because you're like running past the base, that way
right.
you don't step on anyone.
That's true. Well, I guess for stealing bases also, but that's not super
Yeah,
common. Like,
exactly.
I mean,
But
like, it's common depending on who the player is, you know?
I
So,
mean, I mean, if there's a lot more stealing in this year than there's ever been before, then I think it's a good idea because a lot of people are going to need the bigger bag in order to slide and
yeah,
not hurt
they
anybody,
wanna take
right?
more risks, I'm
Right,
sure.
right.
Yeah,
But
not I
first
don't know
base,
that they wanna take more risk, but if that's how they're gonna end up playing this year, you know,
right? But
primarily,
first,
I mean, like, this I know, like, this is gonna sound biased because it's the Mets, but they brought in Lindor, who normally steals 25 to 30 bags a year, and Malik Smith, who led the MLB in 2019 in stolen bases, and Jonathan Villar is a speed demon. Almora is a speed demon. Kevin Pillar is a speed demon, and even guys they still have, like Brandon Nimmo and Michael Conforto, who are pretty fleet-footed themselves. Like, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see it, but especially guys now, I'll go to the guys who are always stealing bases and have been their entire careers, like Trey Turner and Adalberto Mondesi and Mookie Betts. Like, I think we're going to see it. Maybe the guys who have been doing it try to do it a little more frequently, and the guys who have been doing it as frequently but have the speed to are probably going to take more risks. That's what I would tend to think in terms of stealing bases.
right. I mean, like if it's more frequent, then yeah, second and third, good idea. But first, I think it should happen because there's just
Yeah,
too
no,
many
that's
too many
I
problems.
understand.
You got, it's just too many spike feet. It's not enjoyable. So yeah, I approve the
Yeah,
message.
I had the unfortunate viewing to witness a play like that at first base. I was at a Mets game where they were playing the Braves, and Tim Hudson was the starting pitcher, and he was dominating. I think they were in like the sixth inning or late in the sixth, and or maybe even early in the seventh. And this was back in like 2014 or 13, where like Eric Young Jr. was on the Mets, and we know how fast he is, and he was trying to beat out an infield hit, and yeah, like he beat it out, but in the process, he also stepped on Tim Hudson, who went to cover first base, and it was a tie, like a dead tie, and Eric Young Jr. was ruled safe. In the process, it caused a 40-minute delay because in the end, Tim Hudson, I think he tore, I think stepping on while Eric Young Jr. stepped on the base, he also clipped Hudson with his cleat. And he's running fast with a lot of force. Those spikes obviously could do a lot of damage. And I think he got his Achilles tendon, which is
Honestly,
not a pleasant injury. It was long. It
I
was
don't
a
get it,
very
man.
long delay, and it was painful to watch.
I don't get why we have cleats like that, like super sharp spikes and stuff like that. At least, like,
And there are players in the past who used to sharpen them.
like they should either get new shoes or every first baseman has to like get special like padding in that area because otherwise they're like screwed.
Yeah, or
Like
pitchers. I mean, like it happened here. Pitchers,
anyone who covers first, you just gotta like
yeah,
like we give catchers a ton of equipment, so let's just give something to the first base because like it's too much. It's too bad. Like you just can't do that. It's not cool. But anyway, I'm done talking about baseball. I'm ready to move on. Are you ready to move on?
of course.
All right. So this football. Oh man. So I got some stuff. Okay. So I want to figure out what I want to say first. Okay, I'll do the bad first. Okay. So Josh, I like how I always like to set the stage, right? So it's like 3 weeks ago, Super Bowl 54, 5 or whatever. Okay. Chiefs and Patriots are playing. Okay. Everyone on the Chiefs and Patriots is playing except for two players. Okay. Who's not playing?
Chiefs and Patriots.
Sorry. Tom Brady, Patriots went to my head. Buccaneers,
Ah,
Buccaneers.
Chiefs and Buccaneers. So let's see. I believe Eric Fisher was one guy. Talking about the Kansas City Chiefs.
I said on both teams. I didn't specify, but yes.
Both teams. Well, I don't remember for the Bucks, but I do remember Eric Fisher didn't play.
Right. And so wait, which two? Which two players?
Eric Fisher, and I don't remember the other.
And Mitchell Schwartz.
Mitchell Schwartz. That was
Right?
it.
Two of the two best O linemen, for Patrick Mahomes. without a doubt. Eric Fisher, blindside guy, and Mitchell Schwartz, just a stud tackle. And they had two, I don't know who, replacing them, right? So that was like the big reason why they lost, in my opinion. And you won't believe what happened because of all the cap problems that the cap's going down. The Chiefs released both of them. Like what?
That's nuts.
Like
That is nuts. Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, what? You know? Just like, what's going on here? Like, what do you think about this? Like, are they screwed? Are they screwed? Like, are they going to win the Super Bowl ever again?
I have no idea, but I think I know where you're going with this. You're going to ask who they should go to, aren't you? Or who you think is suitable for them.
I was wondering if
I had any
you
thoughts.
have any teams that had some O-line problems that could use one.
I mean, like, this is going to sound really stupid and biased, but honestly, like, if the Giants want to improve that O-line, like, go out and get one or both of these guys. Like, honestly, do it, because they're going to be losing players and they're going to be dumping salary cap because it's still unclear whether Leonard Williams is going to be back there, and we don't know what they're going to do with a couple of other guys that were on that D line. It's even unclear whether Nate Soldier is going to be back. So, and that's going to be, money that they're not going to have to worry about at this point. So, honestly, go out and get these two guys. They're both proven. They both know what it takes to win at a high, and they're both at a high level and at an elite level. They both are elite. Fisher's a former number 1 overall draft pick, so obviously
think about that. Think how bad like the Chiefs were. I don't even know who their quarterback was because this was before Alex Smith.
These two guys changed it. Like, they changed the protection, and that's what allowed them. On top of when they went and got Alex Smith after in free agency, like that was the total revival of that franchise from being a total, like, just lolcow. Like, I mean, they had Matt Castle, who was serviceable. He took them to the playoffs like once or twice maybe. But, like, let's be realistic. He was no Alex Smith when Smith was completely healthy, and he's certainly no Patrick Mahomes. So that's what I think.
Right. So they got Fisher first overall. I always say if you're gonna rebuild, don't ever go with the quarterback first. Go with underrated, like line.
Look, the depth moves work before like the big splashes in some cases. And this is going to be one of those cases because the Giants made it clear that they want to give Daniel Jones a shot and they feel comfortable with him. And to be fair, he didn't have a great O-line last year. Soldier opted out, and Andrew Thomas is still adjusting to the NFL level. And Will Hernandez was like super sketchy last year. He didn't even start every game. So, like, I don't really know what to think of this, like, obviously Evan Ingram's a pretty solid blocking tight end, but he was way too much of a liability, in the passing game last year that I don't even know if they'd want him out there even just to block, because they're going to have to include him in the passing game. So honestly, go out and get one of these guys. I'm sure they'll be able to afford it, and like, it'll make their team better. I know that they weren't so far off in the playoffs because their division sucked last year. But if they really aren't that far away from the playoffs, because that defense we know is still going to be good, even if they don't have Leonard Williams this coming year, because Blake Martinez is still there, and you got James Bradbury and Logan Ryan who are still there, and they've got other guys coming up. Obviously, Kyler Fackrell still. So I think that this team really, obviously, the weaknesses in their offense, and if you could get Jones protection, because that was the biggest issue last year, then who knows? Even if you don't get him a receiver, Barkley will be coming back. Gallman's proven himself. They could have a really solid running back tandem. And even Sterling Shepard, we know, has a lot of promise, even though he hasn't really completely broken out, because he showed strides in his game last year despite being out like the first 6-7 games of the season. He got better as the season went along. And Darius Slayton, also another guy speeding with a lot of promise. And who knows, maybe they get a wide receiver in the draft this coming year with a lot of promise, because there are a couple of really good wide receivers to watch out for. Not like last draft where you had Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and CeeDee Lamb, but
you still have good receivers.
We're going to be looking to improve this team.
But you still have good receivers, in my opinion. You have your
still good receivers.
You have your Heisman winner in Devontae Smith. You have Jamar Chase from LSU, and you have Devontae Smith's sidekick, Jalen Waddle. But
Yeah,
like,
there are a lot of guys to watch out for.
there's no way.
One of those
We're at
guys.
11. We're at 11, which I think is like very, very good. It's basically top 10. Like, there's no way all three of them go in the top 10. There's no way.
And there's also always going to be at least one or two teams that just completely crap the bed in their draft pick. I mean, like we see it in every single sport.
Nah,
It's not just like
I hope
this
it's the Jets, man. That would just be funny as hell.
year.
That'd be so good, you
That
know?
would be hilarious, but I don't think I don't even know if well actually no. I mean Sam Darnold went third overall and he hasn't proven himself yet. So you might be very right because I think they have what? They have the third or the second? They have the second. Yeah. Okay. So maybe they will. Who knows?
Right. So this is what so I'm not sure. So let me just show you something else, and then I want to ask you the second question, to just expand your question. So we released Kevin Zeitler, and he just signed a 3-year deal with Baltimore. What are your reactions to that? And based on that, does that even strengthen the idea that we should now definitely go for Schwartz or Fisher, even though he's a guard and they're tackles?
Yeah, he was the other guy I was thinking of, but I wasn't sure if they had officially released him. I guess this completely, solidifies that thought of mine. So yeah, now I definitely think that they could make a move to go out and get one, if not both of them. I don't think that they'll push as hard as I think they should, to be honest. But that's just me being a Giants fan and always being upset by the stupid moves that this team makes sometimes when they have a golden opportunity to make some move that is completely obvious and right there for them that they just completely go a different route. It was kind of like in the baseball offseason a couple of years ago when in 2019 Dallas Keuchel was a free agent and the Mets needed they had a good rotation, but like to completely solidify that because every fifth game they were like, is Steven Matz gonna get the job done? Like, is Zach Wheeler gonna get the job done before? I mean, like Wheeler had a fantastic year overall in the end, but more like they were in the 4 and 5 spots they didn't know. And of course, it's blatantly obvious he wasn't asking for a lot of money. I think he wanted like $10 million for the rest of the year. Even the Wilpons wouldn't be like, you would think at least, even the Wilpons wouldn't be.
What do you call them again? The Lolpons?
Coupons. The coupons. They call them the coupons. Even they wouldn't be like delusional not to make that move. And not only did they not make that move, they went nowhere near it. They didn't even consider it. That's kind of like what the Giants have done in the past, last couple of years, sometimes when they've had opportunities. And this year, I'm really hoping because they know offensive protection was their biggest weakness last year in the offense. They've got to get one of these two guys. They're both proven. They're both elite. They've played at the highest level, and they've played under, even though it's not the same category, it's offense and defense. But Steve Spagnuolo spent a lot of time in the Giants organization as well and has had success with them. He spent time in the Chiefs organization. I know that's not, obviously it's not the same category, but to be around like the guys who have been in that organization before and know what it takes, like maybe he has a connection, honestly, to them in a way. Like, I know that's very far-fetched to say, but like it wouldn't surprise me at the very least if like they gave consideration and it was like, oh, why? Because like we've heard a lot of great things about this team from Steve Spagnuolo. Like I know how far-fetched that sounds, and I know it sounds and it's making me sound like an absolute idiot, and I probably am like an idiot for thinking that, but I'm not an idiot for thinking the Giants should go out and try to get at least one of these guys.
Okay, Josh. Now, I hope you understand that it's March 15th. I'm pretty sure it's the first day of free agency. So I don't want to go through everything like one by one. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown, and you tell me you tell me when to stop if something's super noteworthy, okay? Mario Edwards, 3-year deal with Bears. This one actually is interesting. Texans trade some guy for Shaq Lawson. I actually think that's pretty cool. Shaq Lawson had a very good year in Miami. Or should we just keep going? Or you want to?
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. The Dolphins, okay. I mean, like they're going to get even better because not only do they have their own draft pick, they have another first-round draft pick and it's high because they got the Texans in that trade.
Right.
So yeah, no, not much to be said. They swap linebackers and around that great defensive core, I think McKinney can also can make an impact in a positive way.
Okay. Marcus Cannon Texans.
Nope.
Re-signing Aaron Jones, big deal.
That is a big deal. He's one of the top running backs in the league. I think the Packers need him if they want that offense to thrive. He's always been excellent for them. And he wasn't like a super high draft pick prospect type guy, So I think that they have a gold mine. Like they struck it rich with Aaron Jones and even Jamal Williams, who combines with him to make a very good running back team. But Jones is obviously the bigger priority between those two, and Aaron Jones had to be re-signed if this Packers offense wants to be anywhere as good as it was last year. Also, I just want to point out, more than a running back, he's also a great receiving running back. So he's also a big threat in the passing game.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is a happy man. So,
Yeah.
okay, blah, blah, blah. Drew, we all know about this. Okay, fine.
Yeah, retiring. And even
We
though
knew about that.
yeah, like we want to wish him well. He's going down as one of the greatest passers of all time. As of now, he retires leading the NFL in career passing yards with over 80,000. So props to him. We know when he set that record, he threw it as a touchdown pass, a bomb against the Redskins, and it was like 60 yards. I don't remember. I think maybe it was like Traquan Smith. I don't remember for sure. But either way, 42 years old, and obviously the rib injury is a big part of this. It's a shame he didn't win a Super Bowl over the last couple of years because I thought the Saints were going to get at least one out of the last like 5 years. Unfortunately, he didn't, but it's not like he's never won one before.
Yeah, he's
so
won one. So
at least he's won one,
yeah, exactly.
And look, as of now, he's the all-time passing leader in yards.
Yeah,
And
that might change.
I mean, second all-time in touchdown passes and completion percentage. Like, what's not like amazing about that?
I mean, dude's a for sure Hall of Famer. You can't deny
I'll be
that.
shocked if he doesn't make it in. And he wasn't even like a crap hole off the ice. Like he was such a
except that one time with the whole
great person generally off the court. I said ice before, pardon me. More in the fact that
isn't accurate either. It's a field.
I mean, like off the field, whatever you want to say, like court, field, ice, whatever. I don't care. Bottom line is, when he wasn't playing, he was always a great mentor, a great leader around. He was the captain of this franchise for I don't even know how many years. It was that long, at least since 2011, I know. And he had he really didn't skip a beat. Like he started to decline late in the year because he got a rib injury, but he nothing changed about his game. He was always fantastic. He was just one of the greatest players to be around, both on the field and off the field. So,
I mean,
props to him, and I hope he makes it in. He deserves it.
I mean, this dude played better than Brady some years. Some years he just felt like he was a better player. He was just so good. He didn't really get injured a lot, until last year. So it just, dude was electric, man. We miss you, Drew. Godspeed. 49ers signed Kyle Juszczyk to 5-year, $27 million deal. I think this is a big deal because I thought, while fullback is kind of a dying breed, this guy is probably the best fullback in the league. So
yeah, I think he is.
Getting him back is big.
Yeah, and if they want to try to get back into the way things went for them during the 2019-20 season, this is obviously one of the guys to have around. He was a big part of that success. That was a lethal running game, and aside from the fact that, he gets some action out of the backfield because fullback is one of the types of running backs. He's a huge block. He's one of the best. He might be the best blocking fullback in the entire game. Blocking specifically. I think he's the best overall, but he's also, I think, the best blocking fullback in the game. I don't really think there's much of a competition, and it's been wherever he's been, whether it was with the Ravens or with the 49ers. And the competition might be even harder, in that loaded NFC West division where you're dealing with the Seahawks, who have a good defensive line, and the Rams, who have the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL. And now the Cardinals just added JJ Watt. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So, it's definitely.
I mean, this division is
big,
going to be big.
And look for the Niners to bounce back as well. I think they definitely can.
Yeah, although Robert Salah not being there might hurt them, in my opinion.
Yes, that is true.
But still. Andrew Norwell restructuring contract. Kevin Zeitler, I said that. Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith are leaving Nashville. So Corey Davis,
that's interesting.
Big Giants target for wide receiver possibility. Brandon extension. Marcus Golden staying in Arizona. Shaq Barrett going back to the Bucks. That's huge.
He was a big part in the Super Bowl of getting to Patrick Mahomes and taking advantage of the fact that both Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher, as we mentioned before, were not able to play in that game.
Right. And then, of course, Jonnu Smith to the Patriots. So this is big. He was a really good tight end, So, like, they finally got a guy that can actually, like, replace Gronk. Not obviously on Gronk level, but just, like, we
in
know
a winning mentality,
he's
because
just
he
a
has
good
had that over the last 3 to
he's a
5
good
years.
tight end, man. He's good,
Yeah.
and yeah, good contract for that guy. Cam Irving, okay. Okay. Jason Verrett, Darius Williams, okay. Matthew Judon, Patriots getting 4-year, 56.
This is huge.
This is a big one. This is a big
He
one.
was big for the Ravens last year. He was a big reason that defense was able to buckle down and just completely deny Derrick Henry last year in the playoffs. Not last year, sorry, this past year. And a reason that they were able to really piece together those last like 6 games of the season, where they were strong and made they kind of brought that team back to what they were expected to be, which was a Super Bowl aspiration team, even though they only finished, what was it, 11-5
Yeah.
on the year. Like they weren't playing like it was last year when they were 14-2. This year, they were very strong at first and very strong at the end. In the middle, they completely took a dive, and they were nowhere near that
Well,
Super Bowl.
after Code Brown, it all changed.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, but it wasn't just the offense. Like, the offense did step up and be a lot more consistent, but the defense got back to that lethal run-stopping game, and Matthew Judon was a huge part of that. So, for him
Which
to
is
come to the
big.
Patriots, which is a team that's built a lot more on their defense now, obviously without Brady and Gronkowski, like, that's huge
But
to
they
bring him.
lost a lot of people last year. Van
Yeah,
Noy, Hightower opted out, Collins opted out.
yeah, and
Um,
2 of those guys are gonna be back.
right.
So adding Judon, I mean, like, that's just the icing on. Like, this might be the best defensive team in the entire AFC.
Really? You think even better than the Chiefs?
I mean, strictly defense, I mean, like, the Chiefs are carried a lot more on their offense.
I know,
So,
man, but like Tyrann Mathieu, Willem Sorensen,
well, I'm saying overall, like,
Chris
overall,
Jones, Frank Clark.
yeah, you might be right. Um, I don't know. Probably not. But we'll
Steelers,
see.
man, before they collapsed, they were on paper very good, man.
They were. That's true.
Cameron Hayward.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe I am a little fast to say that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're a powerhouse defensively. Like, I think they will be.
I mean, yeah, I'm Bill Belichick cannot be trifled with.
Yeah.
So
If there's anything that guy knows how to do, it's coach a defense.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, if it wasn't for him, technically, we wouldn't win our first 2 Super Bowls on the Giants, man. Like he wasn't the only reason, but he was the defensive coordinator for that team. So big help from Bill,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, Jalen Mills, 4-year deal, adding to that defense.
Yeah. Another thing.
Okay. And then, so it's not on here, but I want to pull it up. Just give me 1 second because it's also about the Patriots. Right. We know how Tom Brady, he's in Tampa Bay. He signed a 2-year deal, right? And we're like, what are we gonna do about Tom Brady? That was a big question. Everyone's like, what are we gonna do? Who are we gonna get? And who did we get? We got Cam Newton, and he did not have the best. He did not have the best year, Cam Newton, right? So we're just like, are we like, what are we gonna do? Because it was only a 1-year deal. So what are we gonna do? So here's the verdict. They brought him back. But it's not this time. Now he's not going to be guaranteed to be the starter. Now it's with incentives if he's healthy. So, yeah, thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, like I know this is a little harsh, but I'm not expecting the Patriots to be a very good offensive team. But I mean, like, look, prove me wrong. Like, we all thought that it wasn't going to be so bad, even with Brady out and obviously Gronk coming out of retirement, but not coming back to New England. And Cam Newton's a former MVP. Like, he knows what it takes to win. And you can make the argument, look, it's a new system. It's a weird year. He was dealing with COVID before. And we've given other players the benefit of the doubt when it's come to, oh, they had COVID, and it takes a lot out of the body. Players in other sports, as we've talked about. I'm not going to get into that and go off tangent with that. So I think that maybe, yeah, like Newton does have to receive a little bit of, he has to receive the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't change the players around him for just sometimes being complete garbage. Like Jacoby Myers showed up like every other game, maybe like once every 2 games, Also a guy like who are their other wide receivers? They had like Byard, however that last name is
Yeah,
pronounced.
Byard.
Yeah, like also like a young guy. They're look,
I don't know
all
any of their
guys are young.
Yeah, their offense
But
is very unknown now. It's just Edelman.
yeah.
So.
And Edelman was out for most of the game, and that wasn't even COVID. That was other injury related. So, I guess we'll see. But Sony Michel and James White just were really about the only offense like that the team put up. Cam Newton was much better. Like Cam Newton's production came way more from the rushing game than the passing game last year. And that's not supposed to happen when you're a quarterback, even if you're a guy like Cam Newton. So,
Yeah.
We'll see.
So we'll see. Good luck, Cam. Hopefully you do a good job. And then this is the last one. I think is the biggest news. I mean, it's not the biggest news, but I think to me it's the biggest just because of what it means, right? So, we talked about how crappy the Texans are. They made a lot of mistakes with D-Hop and, and now with JJ. But I got to admit, I like this move. What am I talking about? They got to solidify their backfield, Mark Ingram Jr. What do you think about this, Josh?
Yeah, I like it. They don't really have such a great rushing game,
Obviously, David Johnson and Duke Johnson. That's what you got.
Yeah, David Johnson's not the player he once was, but he was out for a good portion of last year. And when he came back, he started to kind of play like the running back we saw way before. I think that's going to be more of a platooning game. Duke Johnson is serviceable, but he's really not a great running back. He's definitely not what he was with Cleveland that one year when they thought he had a lot more promise to him, and he looked like he did. But the change of scenery, it didn't work. And Mark Ingram, who is a proven running back, who's played well wherever he's been, whether it was with the Ravens or whether it was with the Saints, and has improved his ability to come out of the backfield and catch passes also now, obviously with a very mobile quarterback still in Deshaun Watson, who's probably going to be there because Houston is saying that they're not moving him no matter what. So I guess we'll see. I like this signing, though. I do agree with you, Joey.
Right. You know what? I'm really upset because I forgot to mention like 3 little things. So I'm just gonna do them all quickly, very quickly, and you just give me your thoughts. So let me just pull each of them up. Just give me a second. I'm sorry, this is a little embarrassing, but I want to mention it because these are not no names people. So the Titans, no, because you know these people. First of all, Titans released Malcolm Butler. Okay, thoughts, quick.
I don't know what to think. I don't know what team could use a cornerback. I don't know what team is looking to make a big splash in the secondary, but he's a proven guy. I don't think he'll be on the market for that long.
That's it? Okay. Yeah. Second. New Orleans Saints cut Jackrabbit Jenkins, who you know for sure.
Another guy. I don't think he'll be on the market for long. Very similar to Malcolm Butler, just he's a cornerback. Oh no, they're both. Yeah, what am I saying?
They're both cornerbacks.
Yeah, I was thinking. I just said it, and I was like, "Wait, safety? No."
Right, and then this one I think is actually kind of important. Patriots traded. I think he used to be on their team, but they traded for him again. Trent Brown. They got Trent Brown again. I think he used to be on their team. Pretty sure. Thoughts on that? I mean, because we know he's a good. So
they need. Look, Cam Newton really didn't have much protection last year, which is why he ended up running a lot more, and that's where most of his production came. So obviously bringing in an O-line guy is definitely going to help him out. I don't know that it's a make it or break it type player, though, for the offensive line and Trent Brown. Like, no disrespect to him. And if he has been with the Patriots before, because honestly, I don't even know. The Raiders were a pretty decent offensive team this year. Well, not even pretty decent. They were a very good offensive team this year. Darren Waller was amazing. Henry Ruggs coming off, his rookie season, missed some time, but when he played, he was generally great. And Derek Carr, he might have been the most underrated quarterback of the entire season because the Raiders overall as a team didn't do well. That defense was horrendous. But Derek Carr really showed flashes of brilliance in that offense this past year. So, and he's not a super mobile guy. Like, he's a mobile guy, but he's not like Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen level mobile, So I definitely think that it's going to help the Patriots. I don't think it's going to make or break that O-line, though.
Although I think it's a big deal technically, just because like Trent Brown, like the name status, I feel like that would make a quarterback feel better. One that is getting older. But that's just me. Yeah. So big stuff. A lot of moving parts in the NFL. Free agency is huge. So as MLB free agency is over, football is just begun. I think that's all I have to say about football, and I'm ready to move on to hockey, Josh.
Joey, before we move on to hockey, I just want to mention, though, in case you didn't hear, Dak Prescott was also re-signed as well.
I thought we talked about that already. But if we didn't, let's talk about it.
We'll do this real quick.
I'm pretty sure we did, and I'm pretty sure
we didn't do it earlier today. We did not do it earlier in this episode.
No, I think we did last week.
Last week?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're just like, hey, I feel like this is the same thing as Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, no, I feel like they're trying to put it like a Patrick Mahomes thing, but in the real, if we're being honest, I think it's more just like they think he deserves it, but he doesn't. He's not like on Patrick Mahomes level, so he doesn't really deserve it. But
I don't think we did. Don't pull it up. It's pretty straightforward. It's a 4-year deal. Some money is guaranteed. It's $40 million a year. And that's a lot to give a guy, especially coming off an injury, but it's Dak Prescott. We know what he's capable of, and we know he keeps himself in great shape. He didn't get injured because something happened, like he tweaked the muscle, like someone literally stepped on him and it broke his ankle. Like it's not his fault. It's not something that he had control over. So I do think he has to be a little more cautious because he doesn't tend to slide as much as the average mobile quarterback does, like Russell Wilson, who slides a lot, and Kyler Murray, who slides a lot. Fun fact, and like both of them were former draft baseball players at eye level. So they know obviously how to slide probably better than any other quarterback in the league. But with that being said, I think that Prescott's definitely athletic enough to do it. And I think that he'll come back fine. We know what he brings to the game offensively. I think it's a little much to give him coming off of such an injury because we don't know that he'll ever be the same. We don't know if he'll be the same Dak Prescott we saw, who really took a massive jump in his game offensively. But I do think that he is deserving of a contract around that long. It's not for the rest of his career. He's still a very young player. He's still got a lot to show. And if he lives up to it, even after the injury, then good for him. I'll be happy for him.
I don't mind the years. I mind the money. Like, it's just.
Yeah, the money, yeah.
Got injured, like, that's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how you could better spend your money spreading it out through multiple players instead of overpaying this guy. Like
it's a win-win. I feel like it's a win-win for us either way because either because I mean, I don't know about you, but as me, like I respect him as a player and I like him as a player. I just hate the Cowboys because I'm a Giants fan. So if it works out for him, then great. Like he personally, I think deserves it. He's gone through a lot. He lost his mother at an early age. This injury wasn't his fault, and he's trying to take responsibility. So if it works for him, then great. And if it doesn't work for him, then honestly, it's even more funny because it's a lol-cow factor on Dallas, who cares? We're Giants fans.
I mean, I can't wait for you to get on this tonight.
Yeah, that's just going to be amazing.
That's going to be really good. But, I mean, I feel like he's a 12 to 15 quarterback, I don't think he's top 10 if we're being really honest. I don't know if this contract says that. If you think that's a 12-15 contract, then that's fine. Otherwise, no. Because I personally thought he was always, in the middle. And I always thought that Zeke was super overrated, man. Because just, you got to –
he only had a good offensive line. He has
literally had the best O-line.
Yeah. He's proven that when they don't have a good offensive line, he is nowhere near as effective.
It's
for the player who was known for game-breaking speed and jump cuts and tackle breaking and all those things, yeah, I'm sorry. He's just –
And again, I know I'm a Giants fan, but look what Saquon Barkley did 2 years ago, his rookie season, with a shit O-line. Just terrible. He literally won Rookie of the Year, and he's
offensive Rookie of the Year.
You still.
Yeah. Okay. No. You're right. So, and even last year, 2019. I mean,
for the amount he played, he still was very good with a shit O-line. So,
yep.
You can't tell me otherwise. Sorry, you just can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now I'm ready to move to hockey.
Yeah. And anyway. So, Joey, I'm going to let you kick it off with Rangers first. We're going to talk Rangers, and we're going to do a brand new segment today. So I'll go with the brand new segment, but you can talk Rangers, and we both know the topic to be brought up. So why don't you go ahead and introduce it?
Well, first, I want to bring up two things besides that. But yeah, first of all, freaking Binnington, who had a great playoffs, terrible 2020, just got a 6-year, $36 million contract extension. What the?
Oh man.
Are they
Look,
crazy? Are they nuts?
yeah, look, he's 27 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He's about to begin the prime of his career, and he is somewhat proven. Like maybe it was a little fast to offer him a 6x6, but it's not like a 7x10 like Sergei Bobrovsky got, at least, like for being a guy who just had like a very like one good year and got paid for it. You know what I mean? Like Bobrovsky was great early on in his career with Philadelphia. He kind of dropped off a little his first few years in Columbus, and in his last 2 years with Columbus is when he kind of became that Vezina caliber goaltender again. And he won one with Columbus. And that's when he got paid. Binnington, like in all honesty, I don't think Binnington is ever going to win a Vezina, but I do think he has the capability to take that team to the finals and win with the team around him. Not necessarily. I think if they get to the finals again, and I think this is a team that could do it.
He's a Mike Richter. That's who he is.
Yeah, like
You know?
I don't think
Great
Binnington.
performer, but he's not going to win a Vezina.
Yeah, I don't think Binnington is going to win a Vezina. I do think that he could get to the finals, but I think if they get there again, it's going to be more on the team around and what they've done to bolster that depth, bringing in guys like Kyle Clifford, and they still have Bozak there, and obviously the depth pieces who have improved greatly, like Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, and Zach Sanford over there, and even on defense, with Justin Falk now, and Torrey Krug. I know no more Alex Pietrangelo, but still, like that's a very solid unit you have there. But I don't think Binnington would be the guy to take them over the hump this time. Like he was the sole reason that team won the cup that year. Like if not for him, they go out in easily the third round. Like there was no way the Sharks weren't going to put goals on the board against him. Weren't going to put goals on the board against Allen. Like they managed to do it again against Binnington. It's just like the last two games of the series, like when the Blues were basically in desperation mode because they didn't want to have to go to Game 7 in San Jose and figured, let's just try to nail it down. Binnington became an absolute wall. If not for him, they don't get out of the Western Conference Finals, and they fall to the Sharks again in the conference finals for the second time in like 4 years. So, yeah.
It's actually crazy to me how, like, in 2016, they played the Sharks in the Western Conference Finals. Very different team, very different players. Then, like, 3 years later, they just straight up get their revenge, and now they're in the finals. But this time they win. Like, it's just
And it was the exact opposite because San Jose was the visiting team in Game 6 that season. They won. Like not the visiting. Like St. Louis would have had home ice advantage that round, and they lost it on Game 6. And the Sharks had home ice advantage this past time, and the Blues won it on their ice in Game 6. It was the exact same thing, just like reverse.
I'm saying, like, the Blues had David Backes. They didn't have O'Reilly. And the Sharks, they had people like Joel Ward. And
they also didn't have David Perron back then, who, by the way, in my opinion, played the best hockey out of all three stints with them in his third, still in his third stint with St. Louis.
And the Sharks, they had Joel Ward, but they didn't have Evander Kane or Erik Karlsson.
Right.
So, like, but it's not, it's honestly, it's not a great contract, but it's not the worst contract, okay? Worst contract. 8 years, $84 million, Carey Price, okay?
Yeah.
I remember he signed that like 2-3 years ago, and I said, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Hey,
he's making $10.5 million a year. Like,
this is a goalie. Why are you paying a goalie this much money for so many years? Okay, I just don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand.
A 1 or 2 year deal.
Don't overpay goalies. It's not right. It's a wrong.
A 1 or 2 year deal I would have been fine with because that was after the 2016.
Yeah, obviously. And then
after the 2016-17 season, he was a Vezina caliber goalie that year. But after that, he just hasn't been the same.
Like, you want to do like short, you can do bridge deals, you can do short extensions, but don't do long-term extensions. You're gonna get screwed. Don't do it.
Well, look, he's only going to be 33 when this contract ends, so I don't think it's a terrible contract.
His contract ends in 2026. That's when his contract ends. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm talking about Binnington.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, like his contract ends when he's 33 years old. So that's not terrible. To be making $6, he could probably sign another like 4-year deal for a couple million a year still. I think that he'll definitely be able. I think he's definitely, on the upside, on the upper end of goalies. I think he's a top like 15 goalie in the game. but I don't think he's a Vezina caliber goalie the way a lot of the St. Louis Blues fans probably think he is. And that's not a punch to the gut for St. Louis because I have nothing against them. Like they don't affect the Rangers anyway, and I'm not biased toward any of their players. I just don't think that Binnington is the player he showed himself to be in the Cup final. He definitely was the biggest reason they got there, and I give him props. He was a rookie. He handled it better than anyone ever could have probably. He did the best he could, and no one was able to beat him. But last year, while, like he still put up like 25, 30 wins or something like that, or maybe Jake Allen did. I don't even remember. Like he wasn't completely bad. Like, he wasn't complete trash last year, but he just wasn't even close to the goalie he was the season prior.
All right. Okay. And the other thing I want to talk about is something I never thought would happen. I hope to God it would. The NHL just made a whopping deal with ESPN. ESPN and the NHL are back, baby. Okay? They're $2.8 million for coverage on ESPN. What the hell? This is amazing. What do you think, Josh?
It's another channel that I'll be able to catch hockey on, and I look forward to it.
I feel like now people can stop saying that they don't know anything about hockey because in Canada, it's all over Sportsnet or TSN.
And TSN.
And I said in TSN, right?
Oh,
but in America, it's only on NBC, and that's not every game. That's only like special national games. There's not enough coverage, right?
Well, this season there has been more, but that's obviously because,
So I find it,
and those guys need to make a living. And
right.
I don't blame them. I like hearing those guys, by the way. Like John Forsland is my favorite announcer in the entire NHL now that Doc is gone. And I mean, like him, Kenny Albert, Brendan Burke, and like Brendan Burke is the Islanders broadcaster, and we all know how much I hate the Islanders, but like he might honestly be like my second favorite announcer in that division. Like despite my bias, like despite me hating that team like crazy. Like I could argue with like hating the team, but there are just so many announcers I love to hear doing the games, even from the teams that I absolutely just despise. So
I mean, I just can't wait for Stephen A to start talking about hockey, like pretending. That's gonna be funny. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get. What?
I'm sorry. Like now that it comes to mind, by the way, I don't know. I mean, like this isn't really a sports like player thing, but just to know in terms of the announcement, that just made me think. Because Carolina has started to go. John Forsland, the guy on NBC I just mentioned, used to do the Hurricanes guy. He's known for his best quote saying, "That's hockey, baby," or "Hey, what do you say?" after the Carolina Hurricanes games, whenever great play or win, whatever you want to call it, or either one. Because he began his career there earlier, before the 2000s began, and he was doing the Hartford Whalers, and then when they became the Carolina Hurricanes, he stuck with them. But now that he's not going to be there anymore and he's doing more with NBC this season, he's actually going to be the voice of the Seattle Kraken for the first 5 years. So I think that's pretty interesting, actually. They wanted it, they wanted a guy to bring a lot of energy.
They got an iconic guy. This guy was huge.
Yeah.
For the
he brings a lot of energy, and the same way Vegas brought in a broadcaster who used to do baseball and football. Now, he's made a name for himself in hockey, and the same, I forget what his name is though. But Seattle's doing the same thing. So yeah, I'll definitely be excited. There's going to be a lot of excitement to watch the Kraken come. No, but the Vegas announcer's name, I forget his name.
It's a what's his name? It's
when you say it, I'm gonna know it, but I'm not.
Bruce Cusick or something like that.
Yeah, Cusick or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, good luck to you, and good luck to you, Mr. Forsland, and looking forward, definitely. I mean, not even just like till next 5 years, but for the rest of this year, it's been amazing to hear. So,
I mean, it's exciting. Now, I mean, like, just think about it. Think about like all the new hockey fans. I feel like the first thing they're going to see, if not the playoffs, which we all know is like the best playoffs out of the big four, you can't deny that, is the expansion draft, man. Like, that's going to be super exciting. People are gonna be like, what's an expansion draft, Because, like, it hasn't happened in any of the other sports in a long time, It's only happened in hockey recently. So this is huge. Like, people are gonna be like, wait, there's a new team from Seattle? Seattle has a hockey team? they're called the crackheads? I mean, Kraken. Like what? So what's up? Like, it's just I'm excited. I feel like a lot of people they're actually gonna know what hockey is. I feel like just not enough people know what hockey are. Like
Yeah.
it just feels like a lot of people just don't know about it. Like not even in New York, it feels like a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, and like New York, like the hockey is played. Like I know that you have Nassau Coliseum and Barclays Center, which it was before, and I forget the new place. It's like FedEx Rink or something.
who gives a
Or
crap?
no, UPS or something like that.
Oh,
That's gonna be right
they're
by
the
Belmont
racetrack or
Racetrack.
something. I don't
It's
know.
right next to Belmont Racetrack in the town of Elmont, and it's like right off the highway and everything. But with all that being said, that's still in Long Island. It's like just out of the borough of Queens in New York. So the Islanders are going to be there, but everyone thinks like Madison Square Garden. It's not even me being a biased Rangers fan and even a Knicks fan. It's the world's most famous arena. There's way more than just hockey that goes down there. I know that happens at a lot of
Yeah, you
sports
got
venues,
boxing and
but
tennis
like
and
there's
all this stuff. And concerts
boxing.
by Billy
Yeah, like
Joel.
Billy Joel, who might be like the most famous pianist in the world these days. Definitely
the
one of,
Piano Man. Like that's literally
yeah,
the name
like
of the song.
what's it called? That's like that's his spot for like concerts. So if not hockey, at least like it's got to be known for many other things. You know, for anyone who's been to MSG, and I've only been there for one hockey game, but I've been there for like 2 tours. When you walk around on the concourse there, they have all these pictures of certain dates. And they talk about like, yeah, anyone could probably find their birthday up there for how many things they have. It's that historic. But there's so much more than just like Rangers and Knicks moments up there, and Liberty moments also for the WNBA. Like there's so many more than just sports moments that are there. It's way more, so it's not just a sports venue.
Although
So
there are a lot of Knicks and Rangers moments that are cool
there
stuff.
are a lot, because those have been the 2 things that have been the most frequent events there, both the Knicks and Rangers. But like to think like, in New York, like how could you not know? Like Manhattan is the most famous part of New York as a state. It's definitely the most famous city. And you've got the world's most famous arena, not just the countries, the world's. Like that's ridiculous. And like, how could you not know? I mean, like that's whatever. Like hopefully ESPN will make them more aware.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. I like that way people could just not be so ignorant. Like they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like people, people always talk about Michael Jordan, right? They talk about, sorry, maybe not Jordan because that's not recent, but LeBron James. Everybody knows who LeBron James is, right? People know who that is. People know who Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. People know who that is. And even baseball, which also isn't marketed well, a good number of people know who Mike Trout is and Aaron Judge,
Yeah.
Bryce Harper. They know those people. But to find someone who knows who Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby are, Connor McDavid, that would
Nathan
be
and all
like,
those guys.
do you understand the type of person that knows that is just like super informed? Like they'd have to go out of their way to know who those people are because like if you're not a hockey fan, how are you going to know? It's not covered well. Now, hockey finally has a chance to be covered like it should be. And we all know ESPN, it's not the best network by any means, but it's definitely the most marketable. It definitely has the most potential to market. It's got the biggest influence, the biggest potential. So good luck, ESPN. Please do not screw this up, please, or I will find you. Okay. So now, Josh, up to your segment.
Well, I think we're going to talk the Rangers real quick first. Just a little bit of news. For those of you who haven't been following or even who have, so Artemi Panarin is back, and we welcome him back with open arms because he's a game changer, and there's a significant difference in the Rangers when he's on the ice and when he's not on the ice. And they did find their game a little bit more over the last couple of games without him in the lineup. Ryan Strome has taken strides. Chris Kreider's taken strides. Pavel Buchnevich continues to be great. And even Mika Zibanejad stepped up just a little bit. And obviously, Kaapo Kakko was out with coronavirus a couple games, but, he's come back and been great. And this is all without Panarin, once again. Philip Giedels come back from the upper body injury and played well. Colin Blackwell, obviously, he's great. And the defense, Jacob Trouba's returned to the lineup. Keandre Miller's returned to the lineup after a couple games with a lower body injury as well. Libor Hajek continues to, take small steps forward. And even I know Anthony Bitetto has been dropped and not dropped, but like, just out of the
Yeah.
starting lineup. He's been healthy scratch and I think reassigned to the taxi squad. And I think Jack Johnson just got placed on waivers. But Brendan Smith he's been a pretty nice surprise coming up. He scored in a game pretty recent against the Penguins, which they lost, but not really his fault. They played solid offensively. And of course, I think, in my opinion, now the leader of that blue line, Adam Fox and Ryan Lindgren, those two guys have just been a magical tandem that has been by far the best on that team right now. Yeah, so they're starting to find their game a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
the game before, they got destroyed by the Bruins, and then boom,
yeah,
revenge.
and 2 games
Revenge.
prior to the Penguins, like they lost 3 in a row after winning 3 in a row. So it kind of went all down the drain for nothing. But Panarin returns to the lineup in a game that they look to come back and make a statement. And
they did. They
the rest is history.
I mean, part of me wishes it was against Rask in a way, just because, it would have been more impressive.
Well, part of me wishes it was really against the guy they did it against, which was Halak, because Halak has owned the Rangers for the most part throughout his career. He's got
I'm happy. Like, I always thought Halak. He's
like 24, and now like with this loss, like 9. He's like 24-9 and a couple like overtime losses against the Rangers. That's an excellent record.
I mean, technically, but just because he has that record, I never thought he was a great goalie. If we're being really, really honest, I really always thought he was kind of overrated.
I think he's overrated, but I definitely think he's one of the better goalies still.
Like, he's not backup, man. I think he's a great backup. He's a good part of a tandem, but I don't think he's the guy at all. Like I still remember when he was on the Blues. That amazing, Steve Dangs it. That's a dang it when he hits the puck off. He hits the puck up and just backhands it into his own net. I'm just like,
that was hilarious. With all that though, I mean, like in 3 games against the Rangers this year, he has shut them out twice, and that's not.
Well, now we shut him out.
The Rangers, yeah, I mean,
shut him out of a shutout.
It's a good way to bounce back, But I mean, like the fact that he hadn't allowed a goal in 120 minutes of hockey against them so far this year until this start was just ridiculous. And I don't even know what he did last year against them. Like he might have shut him out last year for all I remember. I don't remember, to be real honest.
I find, so it's possible, but we were a lot better last year, in my opinion, like just hotter of a team. We were very hot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like although he didn't get the goal, Mika, amazing passes to his favorite line mates in Pavel and Chris. Although I'm still not sure if I'm okay with them doing this line. I really don't feel comfortable putting Lafreniere back on the third line, although he did look pretty comfortable with Filipino and Kakko. So, it was Kakko, right?
No, I think Kakko played with Strome and Panarin. Or maybe Kakko didn't. I don't remember. Maybe Blackwell played on that second.
I think that's the only way this is gonna work, because I don't find it right that Kakko and Lafreniere, like one of them's in the top 6 and one of them isn't. So
I think Kakko right now needs to be in the top 6 the way he's played. Lafreniere is.
I know, but Colin Blackwell reminds me a lot. He's playing like Jesper Foss to me.
Yeah.
So like, I can't get rid of my Jesper Foss because he was the top 6 last year.
Yeah.
So I can't just put Kakko there. I just can't. And I feel like it's a good thing only because Blackwell, when everyone was playing poorly, he was one of the only guys that was playing really well. So he at least deserves to be up there, Kakko and Lafreniere probably could benefit from playing with each other and with Hito. So, I mean, I'm willing to make that the triplets line, I would love that because they're all super young, all super talented, and this is the only way that Brett Howden stays out of the lineup. So I'm okay with it, because otherwise we're going to have to put Rooney on the third line and one of the fourth line center, and we're going to freaking Howden and then like kill me, keep Rooney on the fourth line because he can score. He can actually play, it's very tough. But yeah, K'Andre Miller, dude's putting up I know we're talking about Lafreniere and Shesterkin, but Miller is like the guy I actually will consider for Rookie of the Year if it were up to me. Yeah. He's playing a great game. He had a sick, I don't know if it was this game or the game before, but I remember he had this crazy block, I think.
Yeah, it was against the Penguins. The one game they beat the Penguins in this year so far.
He had a crazy block, and it was very special. Panarin, he didn't score, but he still got that point streak going. I know he hasn't played in a while, but if you take from the games he played before, he's been on a
Yeah.
So, Strome scoring again, he's becoming like the most consistent guy in the top 6. Well, technically Kreider, but definitely
I
Strome.
think Buchnevich is. I mean, again, like he had his point streak snapped in the shootout. But other than that shootout, like he's had a point streak going. Like other than that shootout, I think he's had points in like 6 or 7 straight games.
Yeah, and then there's Trouba, who I feel like a lot of people are hate that we got him because of the contract, but I actually really like him. I think he's a big contributor. I think he's getting a lot
He's improved defensively. I know he's like we took him in more for the offense because Neil Pionk was turning out to be an offensive defenseman, and Trouba put up an unreal 2018-19 season. But Trouba's definitely upped his defensive game at least while dropping the offense. It's kind of been like a trade, and like I'm kind of okay with it now. And also, like, cut the guy some slack for the moment because he is still playing with a partially broken hand. So,
yeah, I mean, it's crazy, Although the one thing that really bothers me a lot is that Keith Kincaid has a shutout and Igor doesn't. Like, what the hell?
Well, I just want to point out Keith Kincaid's been marvelous since coming up to the Rangers.
I know, but you never thought of this.
No, I doubted it. I know. I said I wasn't a big fan.
You didn't think he was going to play. Come on,
you didn't me wrong.
You didn't think he was going to.
I didn't think he was going to do this. I didn't think he was going to do this. But you know what? He's making me eat my words. And while it was an awful transition for him the last like year and a half, he has definitely bounced back in a few games. And it's not even just that. It's not even just like how he did it. It's who he's done it against. You're talking about Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, David Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron, Marchand. As much of a dick off the ice as on the ice as he is, he's still a great player. Like, he's a threat. Like, it doesn't change that. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing it against the best of the best in that division right now.
Yeah, either Kincaid found like a time machine and, he's like 3 years younger, or the defense is overworked like crazy, like Adam Fox, Miller, Lindgren.
Well, the defense was excellent in this game. He never had to face more than 7 shots in a period. Well, I looked at the stats this past game. Keith didn't have to face more than 7 shots in a period this game.
He had 18 saves.
He had 18 shots the entire game. And how many did they have on him the game before when he wasn't even the starter? I don't even know. He didn't allow a goal in that game. Georgiev gave up all 4. So,
That's true. But then again, like, I don't know, like, can you really count someone who came in relief? Like,
yeah, I think you can if he holds down the fort
baseball, that way. There aren't innings. It's not like.
Hey, I don't care. He held down the fort. If it weren't like theoretically, the Rangers still had an opportunity to come back and win that game.
Come on, man. 4-0. It's very.
Look, we've seen them come back from more in the past, and we've seen them come back against better teams from that deficit.
Listen, man, the one time they did it was against Montreal last year, and it was so amazing, and I was so happy. And I thought, and because it's only
on the road against Carey Price, who is better than Halak. I know we just gave him a lot of crap for his contract. But he's significantly better than Halak, and I think that playing in Montreal is a lot harder than it is playing in Boston, and they had less time against Montreal.
The fans are like,
it doesn't matter. The bottom line is it's harder, and they did it. And this team, and like, what's it called? Without Panarin, also, like, that's come on.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Please God, can we make the playoffs? I'm just begging you, because if we can beat a team like the Bruins, we can beat anyone, man. They're like one of the best teams in this division, man. And we know we can beat the Capitals.
Yeah.
We technically are the best team in the division. But, like, we're better than the Capitals, technically, if that makes sense.
We play better. We play well against them. I wouldn't
But how is it that we're better than them, but we're not? But they're like the first team.
That's
like,
yeah.
It's a little confusing. But we are better than them. Because when we play them, like
we own Washington. That's just it. Like, the Rangers own the Caps. That's it.
Which I don't get, because they're the best team in the division. So it's just like a little confusing. But yeah. Maybe if we just play Washington the rest of the year, we'll be good, We'll go in the playoff. We'll snuck. Yeah. So just.
I think by then Washington would probably figure the Rangers out. But either way.
I don't know, man. Their goalie guy, he's having a good year, but I don't think he's going to stop Panarin. I just don't think it's going to happen, man. Panarin's back, baby. He's back.
He is.
He's back. Okay.
Anyway,
But yeah, let's just get to your thing, Josh, because I gotta go soon. So let's go.
Yeah, so we're gonna do this really quick. For those of you who know the baseball YouTuber Giraffe Neck Mark, we're gonna pull one of his shticks out of the box and do it on this segment, and we're gonna be doing our take on the most underrated / underappreciated player from each team in the NHL, and it's gonna go really fast. So Joey, why don't you pull up the divisions? We're not gonna have to look on rosters for the teams because I already have my picks. I don't know if you are.
No, I got my picks. I'm just want to give you the standings so that you can
see the teams. Yeah, we'll go
Yeah.
by division just to make
Which
it
division?
easier for viewers.
Which division?
Go. We'll start with the East. We'll start with the East this time. We'll
You
go
wanna
East
start
and
with
West.
these?
Yeah,
No.
let's start with the East. Why not? So anyway, let's start with okay. Yeah, whatever. I thought you were just gonna go from left to right in the corner. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'll go left to right. There you go.
We'll go left to right. All right, screw it. So Carolina, there are a couple names on this team that come to mind. And by the way, goaltenders are going to be included, at least for me. I don't know if you have any, Joey.
Yeah,
but
I do for a few teams because some of them are dog shit. So yeah.
Yeah, this is not going to be one of those teams for me, though. I'm going to go ahead and say, and it's for this year, by the way. Okay, unless I specify certain years, but for this year is where all my picks are coming from, and I'm going to have to say that this year the most underrated player, well, I'm going from top to bottom on the Carolina Hurricanes, is Martin Necas. He's a guy who has done so well since coming in. He's still adapting to the pace of the NHL. He's a young player, and he's playing with guys like Aho and Teravainen and Svechnikov and now Trocheck and Jesper Fast. Like, he's going to be blossoming even more. He's already amazing, and I can't wait to see where his career goes. And it doesn't pay me to say that now because now, at least this year, the Hurricanes aren't in the same division as the Rangers, so they don't have to worry about
it. Okay, how do we do this? Do I now say mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Switch off.
Okay. I just see. I was a little confused. I thought you were gonna do a few, and then I was gonna do a few. But okay, sure.
No, one by one.
Yeah, no problem. So for me, I'm going to pick someone that like I feel like because of how stacked the defense is, he's underappreciated. But I'm gonna pick Brett Pesce because you have Dougie Hamilton and Jacob Slavin, who might be the best D tandem in the AHL. I feel like it's them or like Walensky and Jones. But like you have them. You have Brady Shea, who is not like as good as he used to be, but he was still pretty good. You have Hayden Fleury, and you have a great pass from Jake Bean. So Brett Pesce, to me, he falls under like the umbrella of just not being known. And he, to me, is having I think he's having a good year, in my opinion. You know, I like
Brett
Pesce.
Anyway, I'll get behind that. So anyway, now on to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I'm going to go ahead.
I don't know who you're going to pick as underrated, but okay.
I mean, you don't exactly know. I'm going to go ahead and pick Jan Ruda for the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of their young defensemen. He's from the Czech Republic, and he's very, very early into his career. It was really a tie between him and Eric Chernak for me, but I think Chernak having a little more experience makes Ruda that guy because people are expecting a little more out of Eric Chernak, and he's kind of stepped up. I don't really think he's that underrated anymore. As for a guy like Jan Ruda, who's underratedly still getting to get time with guys like Victor Hedman and Ryan McDonough and Mikhail Sergachev, I think that's big, you know. And the Lightning D tends to have more left-handed shots, so adding a right-handed shot into the mix definitely helps them, I think, to have a little more diversity.
I mean, you stole my guy. It's Jan Ruda, without a doubt. I mean, this guy was playing among Victor Hedman, Mikhail Sergachev, and even though they're not on the team anymore, Zach Bogosian, Kevin Shattenkirk, and Ryan McDonough. So, like, he had big shoes to fill, you know, because they lost Anton Strawman, who was one of the big guys. So I gotta give him props. It's Jan Ruda, without a doubt.
Yeah. So moving on.
This one's obvious, but whatever. Like,
I want your pick first.
Carter Verhaeghe, man.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks.
Who else are you gonna pick? Are you crazy?
Yeah. Who else are you gonna pick? He said he. You know, I think that I speak for both of us here to say that he was slightly underwhelming with the Tampa Bay Lightning, but he's also still very young, and him coming over to the Panthers was just huge. Like, I mean, like, now it's turned out to be huge. But I do want to give, this was when I really did consider giving the mention of a goaltender to And I want to give a massive, massive honorable mention to Chris Driedger, who is really reviving his career. I mean, like Sergei Bobrovsky, you'd expect to be the backbone of that team, and he's just been awful this year. He hasn't played very much to begin with, and even when he's played, it hasn't been super strong. Chris Driedger was on the Ottawa Senators back during the 2014-15 season, and he was playing behind two guys, in Andrew Hammond and Craig Anderson, and they were a very good team that year, so he didn't really see much time. And I remember there was this one game that I think Hammond started, and it was in Ottawa, and the Rangers were blowing them out of the water, so Driedger got some time. And like, you know, he kind of held down the fort, but that's like he's not really known other than that. And he's bursted onto the scene. He's been marvelous this year. So I do want to give him an honorable mention, but Carter Verhaeghe still does get the pick for me. As for the Blackhawks, who do you have, Joey?
You just did the Panthers.
Yeah. And we had our picks.
When you
so
say
now,
as for, it makes it sound like you just said your Blackhawks won.
huh?
Sorry, you made it sound like you said yours already.
Oh, no, I didn't. Like, who do you have for the Blackhawks?
So it's going to sound kind of weird because he's on the first line. But let's be honest, I didn't think he was going to have this kind of season. It's Alex DeBrincat. He's having a very, very good season. It's not. I'm not trying to say he wasn't good, but come on, like you don't expect him to have the season he's had this year. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, people have to step up when you don't have Kirby Dach and Jonathan Taves, but like, he's doing a good job. You know, what about you? Who are you gonna pick?
Yeah,
I know you want to say the goalie, but I'm not trying to do goalies. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I have to say the goalie.
Okay,
I forget his name though. Like I literally looked it up and forgot it. It's not DeBrincat because DeBrincat's been in the league for a couple of years and everyone knows he's already a pretty good goal scorer. He's just been a little inconsistent, but I don't think he's an underrated player. What's their goalie?
It's Kevin
It's not Malcolm Subban. I forget his name.
Kevin Lankinen, but like
Kevin Lankinen, yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't want to give it to that guy. I don't want to give it to that guy. You know, like
I think like he's been a big part of their success. I think you have to. A lot of people expected more to be Malcolm Subban,
more on the defense,
who's proven himself.
I think it's more. I think it's more on the defense, man. I mean, Keith still got it a little bit, and
that's true.
Adam Boqvist, amazing.
Retired.
Calvin DeHaan, Ian Mitchell, like you still like they're doing.
Yeah, look, like no shame to them, but like I still think it has to be. I think it has to be Kevin Lankinen.
You know, okay. And for Blue Jackets, who do you got?
I got Jack Roslovic.
Damn it, that was mine.
Jack Roslovic was solid in Winnipeg, but wasn't seeing a ton of time with guys like his teammate who's now with him in Columbus, Patrick Laine. But with guys and him being a center/winger, you know, you had guys when he was first there and Paul Stastny and Mark Scheifele there. And oh my gosh, and there was another really obvious one. I mean, like he was the third. And like, you know, in terms of the wingers, you had, you know, you've got Laine, who's now with him, still plays ahead of him in the lineup, I'm pretty sure. But you have Nikolai Ehlers and Kyle Connor over there and Blake Wheeler over there. Like they're a loaded offensive team. So he wasn't seeing like those quality minutes. He was seeing time with guys like Adam Lowry and Andrew Kopp, who like aren't like explosive players. But Jack Roslovic has really stepped up his game since coming over to Columbus. And I want to give him props. And I think he's the most underrated player or underappreciated player on that team right now.
Okay. Blue Jack. Stars, who do you got?
So this one's going to come as a shock. At least I think it will. But for the moment being, like, I feel like it has to be Anton Khudobin. Like, he's keeping the Stars in that. Like, he's keeping the Stars in game. Everyone is expecting it to be a guy like Jamie Benn, even though he's the captain, because he's always been like somewhat of an underrated player the last like 3 or 4 years because he just wasn't that explosive left wing and center we've seen in the past. Tyler Sagan's not playing this year, but I don't think he'd be underrated. And Heiskanen's proven himself. I think Klingberg has proven himself. I think Esa Lindell has proven himself as well. And, you know, like no more Janmark, Radek Faksa, Jason Dickinson, all those guys would be good candidates, but they don't really like carry the team. Denis Gurianov has taken a step back since playing in the playoffs. He was great, but I don't think he is anymore. Corey Perry's not with that team anymore. Joe Pavelski's not really an underrated player still. He just had a down first year and adjusting to a new system. I think it has to be Anton Khudobin right now. I know that it kind of like goes against what I'm saying, but the offense really isn't the problem right now. It's the defense, and in games that they struggle defensively, he's keeping them in the game. And people don't really think about that because they should be thinking of the guys like Miro Heiskanen and John Klingberg and Esa Lindell, but they don't really. So that's why it's Hudobin for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I this is one I did pick a goalie. It's Kudobin because holy shit. He's old, but damn, he's playing well. So gotta give him props. Okay.
So who do you have for Nashville? Well, I'll go with Nashville first. My pick for Nashville is, excuse me. Oh my gosh, that was lethal. My pick for Nashville this season, it's going to be another shock, but it's Philip Forsberg. Philip Forsberg has taken a step back in his game over the last couple of years, I think. Not over the last couple of years, more like the last year and a half. But this year he's back onto the scene and he's flying under the radar, I think, because Nashville is just not having really any success this year. But he's been one of the bright spots to that team. So what do you think?
I mean, I was thinking Eli Tolvanen just because like he's like not the kind of guy you think would be on the first line, but he's playing on the first line, with Forsberg and Johansson. So he must be doing something right if he's playing with them. I think he's having a pretty good year. Personally, yeah. I mean, it's hard because the Preds kind of suck. So even though they have a lot of good players, they kind of suck. So it's kind of hard to pick someone who's underrated when they kind of suck. I hope I made that clear.
Yeah. Anyway, on to Detroit, and
mine for Detroit is I'm gonna pick Bobby Ryan.
Really?
Yeah, because Bobby Ryan used to be a stud when he was in Anaheim, won the cup. When he came to Ottawa, first few years it was a big deal. Then he fell off the map. And we all said when he went to Detroit, this is low risk, high reward type thing. And the fact is, Detroit still sucks. But in 28 games, Bobby Ryan has 13 points. I gotta give it to him that. I didn't even think he'd get that far. 6 goals, 7 assists. That's not bad. For a team like Detroit, and a player that fell off like Bobby Ryan, that's pretty good, in my opinion. So I picked Bobby Ryan. Yeah. Enough said.
Yeah, no, for the first time you went first, so you stole mine. I do agree with you on Bobby Ryan. I was originally going to say Dylan Larkin, but I just realized he hasn't played so many games because he's been injured and COVID and all that stuff. And generally when he's played, he's actually been very noticeable in a very good way. So I can't stick with that pick. And I am going to agree with you on Bobby Ryan. As for the Islanders, I'm going to go ahead and get this one started. And this is going to be a shocker, but I honestly think it's going to be Ilya Sorokin. I know he had a rough first start against the Rangers, but ever since then, the dude has been lights out. He's not getting the bulk of the play because Semyon Varlamov has been just as good. Honestly, he's been better. But Sorokin's coming up, and he's coming up fast. And I know he's played against some of the weaker teams, but at least he's dominating them. It's not like he's just getting by, like against the Sabres and the Devils. Like he's completely ripping them to shreds. So I think it's Ilya Sorokin for me on the Islanders.
Yeah. So for me, it's not the same for what's it called as you, but I picked Adam Pelech because I think their defense is overrated as hell. And this guy is probably the only guy that I kind of like on their defense, really, really like. I feel like a lot of other guys are kind of like just random people, like Andy Green, the freaking captain of the Devils.
Yeah.
Like what?
No big shoes to fill there.
Like who are you? Oh, you remember when I said that? Okay.
Of course I remember what you said.
That was legendary. Okay. But the point is it's Adam Pelech. I don't give a crap about this team. I really feel like outside Barzal, I really could not give a crap about him. So, yeah, I'm picking Pelech for the underrated factor.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the Capitals. For me, it's Jacob Vrana. I don't think there's any other clear pick. That defense is still pretty good. You've got Carlson. You added Justin Schultz. You've still got Dmitry Orlov. He might be one of the more underrated defensemen in the league, but I don't think he's the most underrated player on this league because I feel like Jacob Vrana is a guy who's still up and coming onto the scene. Orlov's been in the NHL for the last couple of years already. I think that Jacob Vrana is the most underrated player on this Capitals team.
I mean, I got nothing else to say. That's exactly who I was thinking. I mean, he's top 6 for a reason, but like, damn, you know?
Yeah.
And then for the Penguins, I had a few choices. Like I was thinking about maybe Kapanen, but people know who he is. I was thinking Jared McCann, but he's injured. So I'm gonna pick Cody Ceci because I think he kind of proved a lot of people wrong. You know, I feel like everyone thought he was gonna be like a kind of a loser, like he kind of was in Toronto, but he's kind of proven them wrong. So good for him. Good for Cody Ceci.
Yeah, for me, it's Brandon Tanev. He's a speedster, not a big name for himself. He's definitely improving
Yeah.
his game. He's always there. He's like Brian Rust, but on the third line and not as, electrifying in terms of making plays all the time, like, on a fancier level. He's a gritty player. He's going to win a lot of races. He's an extremely effective penalty killer. Him along with Teddy Bluger, they make a great tandem. They're both very aggressive, but I think Tanev provides the jump in that game. Like whenever that team is looking a little flat and Tanev steps on the ice, he's always the guy who gets that team going. And he's a third liner. Like he should really be getting, I think, time more on the first two lines. Not the first, maybe because you've got Crosby. I know you have Malkin, but like Tanev is a guy who could also play the wing. I think he's definitely capable of getting there. And it's Brandon Tanev for me. As for Boston, who do you have, Joey?
He's a piece of shit, but it's Nick Ritchie. It's Nick Ritchie. Piece of shit.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. He's not a very explosive player, but he's a big body who takes away the eyesight of the goalie. And on the power play, he's been very surprisingly productive this year in a very positive way for Boston. So, he's having a good season. But again, like I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
He's an asshole. If I have to, if I could, fuck him. Just he sucks.
Who you got for Philly?
So this one, it's just like we all know who their offense is, so I couldn't really pick an offenseman because their offenseman's like kind of. I mean, I thought a few. I thought about Farabee and Lawton, but I feel like I just wanted to go to defense, and I wanted to pick Justin Braun because everybody knows about Oscar Lindblom and Ivan Provorov, Travis Sanheim. I picked Justin Braun because he might be on the first pairing, but like people probably forgot who the hell this guy was. People thought he was still in San Jose probably, but whatever. He's doing okay. So I'm gonna pick Justin Braun.
Yeah, mine was actually a tie for this one, and Justin Braun was one of those two guys. I've mentioned him in the podcast previously before as being talked about as one of the most underrated defensemen in all of the NHL. One of the guys who's just strictly a defenseman, right? He does have a little bit of offensive upside. We've seen him chip in and get shots from the point that take bounces and get to the net. And we all know what happens when you get a puck on net. Good things happen. He's had success, obviously, with the Sharks before. There's a reason they traded for him of all guys, a guy whose salary cap wasn't insanely high because had they taken Mark Edward and Vlasic, it would have been a lot more. Or had they gone for Brent Burns, it would have been a lot more. And Burns wasn't going to be leaving them either way. But with that being said, Justin Braun is one guy, but the other guy is one of the guys you just mentioned, Joel Farabee. And I think he's excellent, and I think he's really up and coming onto the scene. And a lot of people didn't think so much of him after last year when he was a rookie. He had a lot more promise, supposedly coming into the year. Didn't really do much. This year, he's on fire. I think he's starting to turn a lot of heads. But with the fact being that the Flyers are flying low compared, no pun intended, but the fact that they're not doing as well as a lot of people predicted them to be early on in the year, I think is one of the reasons he's not getting that much recognition. So I think that it's Joel Farabee tied with Justin Braun here in that case. As for the Rangers, who do you have?
I feel like we have the same guy. You want to say him at the same time?
No, because I don't think we have the same guy.
All right, so you go first.
So my underrated pick is actually Kevin Rooney. And the reason I say that is because of what he's been able to do on this Rangers penalty kill. And I know that the Rangers, obviously, you already think of Buchnevich and Chris Kreider, who's been put on the penalty kill for the first time. He's been excellent. And obviously Mika Zibanejad and obviously Brett Howden. Those are all proven guys. Kevin Rooney was a penalty killer for the Devils last year. That was absolute ass. Like, not him as a player, but that penalty kill. And it made him look bad. And he's kind of turned a lot of heads. And he's starting to actually create shorthanded opportunities for the Rangers. I really like what he's done. I think he fits excellently within the bottom six forwards. And I think that, honestly, he could be one of those guys you could make an interchangeable swap with. So I do think that it's Kevin Rooney. And I don't think that's the guy you were thinking of, Joey.
Really? Who do you think I was thinking of?
I thought you were thinking of either Filipino or Capo Caco.
Nope. I was thinking of Kevin Rooney.
Really? That's BS. You. That's complete BS.
Fuck you. I was thinking between. Okay, I'll tell you this. I was thinking between him and another player, but it wasn't the two that you said. Okay.
Was it Blackwell?
Yeah, it was Blackwell. It was Blackwell and Rooney. So fuck off. All right. Okay.
There's no way. I thought for sure you were going to say
No, I was not
Kako
going to
or
say Kako. He's the second overall pick. Why the hell would I call
Beetle.
him underrated?
Beetle. I thought you were for sure going to
Beetle,
say
okay,
one of
I know
those.
what you're thinking, but
It's off of this year. Like,
no.
that's
But
off.
he was good before. He was good before, so I wouldn't say that.
Okay,
I
whatever.
actually thought he was good before. It's not fair because it's my team, so you can't say that. But Rooney, who the fuck is Rooney in Blackwell? You know, I was just like, nah. So you're wrong. We had the same guy. So fuck off.
Wow. I did not think it was going to be Kevin Rooney.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
whatever.
I don't think we'll have the same guy again. But yeah, you got the
Yeah.
Devils. So
Okay. Well, I think we will, but I don't think that it's going to be an
okay, yeah.
Either
Yeah,
way.
sure. So yeah, you go first. Yeah.
Okay, New Jersey Devils. I think that this one is pretty obvious. It's Miles Wood. I mean, he's a speedster. He works hard. He's been promoted to the top line. He plays now with Travis Zajac and occasionally Jack Hughes and Pavel Zacha, who are kind of interchanging within that top line and second line. But Zacha has been having one of the best seasons, and I don't think he's exactly underrated. I just think that he's not very good, and he's kind of hitting that potential now. And I don't think that you can be considered underrated when you're hitting potential for the first time. Miles Wood has always been a grinder, a speed demon who's going to get you production, but he's jumped up in the lineup a little, and that's just because the Devils have lost a lot. Like we mentioned, Kevin Rooney's not there anymore, and Taylor Hall's not there anymore. So there's really not much that this Devil team has to offer except the fact that Mackenzie Blackwood is a pretty good goaltender. And I know that their record doesn't show that they're, a very threatening team, but they're not exactly like teams will beat them and they'll beat on them bad. But like Mackenzie Blackwood's not to blame for that entirely. So anyway, I think it's Miles Wood though.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, it is Miles Wood.
I told you I thought it was going to happen
really
again.
sucks outside of Hughes and Heischer, Palmieri, like it's not a great team. So, yeah, it's Miles Wood.
Anyway.
Sabres, what do you got?
I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay, so this team sucks. So, yeah, it's Olofsson, in my opinion. I was thinking maybe him or Reinhardt, but yeah, it's like one of those two because, like, I don't give a shit. This team sucks.
Yeah, I think this one's going to come by surprise, but for me, it's actually Henry Jokiharju. He's still a fairly young defenseman, plays on the third line, but he has an underrated shot. That dude has a cannon from the point. And I wasn't going to say Colin Miller by that logic because Colin Miller is pretty established as a pretty solid defenseman who can chip in offense every here and there. Anyway, but it's Henry Jokiharju for me. I do want to give an honorable mention to Linus Ullmark, who's really come onto the scene well, but he hasn't been playing a ton.
But the wins don't match the stats.
Yeah, he's another guy like Blackwood. Like he plays very hard, but like his team just completely sucks, and they don't really give him much support. And Eichel's out right now, so it's not even like that.
I was actually thinking about Blackwood for the Devils, but yeah.
Anyway, Vegas, who do you have, Joey?
Listen, this is just like the Lightning. Like, who the fuck is underrated on this team? Like, it's not that easy. You got your Petrangelos, your Stones, your Paciorettys, your Smiths, Marchessault, Carlsons. So it's and also the goalies. Holy shit, So to me, it's one of two players, right? It's either Zach Whitecloud, right, who's been okay, or it's Chandler Stevenson because he has big shoes to fill with the whole Paul Stastny departure, And then I feel like we all know Ryan Reeves, right? So he's not underrated. So I don't know like if that counts. But yeah, I feel like Chandler Stevenson, that's who I pick.
Yeah, I have a tie between two players as well. Mine is Alex Tuch. He's underrated. Like,
come on, you know who he is.
I don't know if he's necessarily underrated. That's why I had it between two because I still feel like he could be moved up a little bit higher in the lineup, and that's why people don't recognize him as much. But he's definitely a name to be known on this team. He's kind of coming on the way this year as Miles Wood has been coming on for the Devils, which is why I decided to go there. But in terms of, I think you also hit the nail right on the head, Zach Whitecloud. And I think this guy is so underrated because of how much potential he has. When this Vegas Golden Knights defense wears out, and there are going to be guys who are coming out soon, like Braden McNabb, and they don't have Nate Schmidt anymore, I know. So that's why he was able to jump up in the spot because they didn't really get anyone to replace him. Zach Whitecloud, in my opinion, has the capability to be a top 20 defenseman in the NHL within the next 3 years as a strict defender. He's tough, he's gritty, he wins battles, he's physical, and he's not a very, very big guy. So that's why I think he's super underrated. I think he might be the most underrated player on that team, but I want to give Alex Tuch some recognitions, as you mentioned, with all the Marchessaults and Carlsons and Stones and Pacioretty's on that team. That's why he's in the mix for me.
Okay, Josh, who do you got for Wild?
For the Minnesota Wild, I think it's Jared Spurgeon, quite honestly. And I don't say this on the
Captain?
Wild. I say
No,
this more.
no,
I say more in the NHL. This is hear me out on this one.
no.
Jared
This is
Spurgeon,
for the team.
captain.
This is for the team. You can't do that. He's the captain. You can't pick.
Okay, fine. You know, if it's not going to be Jared Spurgeon, then I'd probably have to go with Jordan Greenway. He was another
Thank you.
top. Yeah, he was a top draft pick, and he's only starting to really hit that potential now. He's developed some pretty solid chemistry with Joel Eriksson, and I really like watching that line play whenever I get a chance to watch the Wild. But I also want to give an honorable mention to Capo Kakinen, who's been absolutely ridiculous and just absolutely slept on. He's half the reason the Wild are nearly 10 games above 500 and in second place.
Right, and the other reason is Kirill Kaprizov, but that guy's obviously not underrated.
He's
so
not underrated.
I picked Kapanen too because holy crap, you cannot be that good of a team with a bad goalie. You just can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So, although I did like Greenway, Hartman, Rask, Eriksson, like all good, like underrated choices. So, but yeah, like it's Kapanen because like he's like literally like the face. Him and Kaprizov. Like without them, this team is basically Buffalo. So, yeah.
It's not basically. They have more firepower than Buffalo does. They also have better defense than Buffalo
Dude, they
does.
literally traded Eric Stahl for Marcus Johansson. Like they traded with them.
Okay, either way, it doesn't matter. For Colorado, who like you want to go first? I don't really.
It's your favorite team, Josh. Why don't you?
Not my favorite team. It has my favorite player, and obviously he's my favorite player, so he's not the most underrated guy in the league. I'm sure he's the favorite player for a lot of overall players in the entire NHL. But my pick for this team might shock you a little bit, and it's going to be Ryan Graves. Ryan Graves is slowly becoming one of the backbones to that defensive core, with obviously the big name on that team is Cale Makar, and Eric Johnson has made a name for himself despite his contract not being great. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. Like, that I think Eric Johnson gets overlooked still just because of that contract, but he himself isn't a bad player. But Ryan Graves is very underratedly becoming like that very solid overall defenseman who gets pucks to the net and still can contribute offensively. He's a grinding, gritty player. He gives up his body like there's no tomorrow. And I really admire that. He's the son of one of our favorite players of all time in Rangers history, Adam Graves. I don't know if you would have remembered that, but either way, I do want to give an honorable mention to Devon Toews, but I feel like after getting that contract extension, he's not that underrated anymore. So that's why my pick is Ryan Graves.
Yeah. Are you sure he's the son of Adam Graves?
I'm nearly positive he is.
Yeah, I need to check this because
I'm nearly positive he is the son of Adam Graves.
I don't know.
If he's not, then okay, I'll understand. It wouldn't be the craziest thing, but I'm nearly positive he is the Adam Graves' son.
Is Ryan Graves related to Adam Graves? People ask. There's no relation between Adam and Ryan Graves, but they immediately hit it off after the Rangers selected him. You're probably just thinking of the Rangers, man. You probably think that. It's just like, it's okay.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, St. Louis.
Yeah.
Lastly, Colorado. Who you got?
Yeah, so I thought Graves too, but I also really like to give a big shout out to Tyson Jost. I feel like he's like one of those guys you just don't know about well. So Tyson Jost, that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about it earlier. He was a top 10 draft pick in the NHL, 10th overall, I believe, right on the money, along with one of his teammates who's been a lot more productive than him. Not to say he's bad, but Mikko Rantanen also was a top 10. He was the 10th overall pick in the draft, and he's arguably like a top 5 right winger in the NHL. So I don't think arguably, I think he is.
No, he is. He's on the best line in the NHL.
Yeah, like he is part of that. Anyway, for the St. Louis Blues, this is more of a player coming up from this year, and I'm going to go with Jordan Kyrou, who has really upped his game, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on him with all the Vladimir Tarasenko's and David Perrons. Of course, we mentioned Ryan O'Reilly and then Justin Falk and Torrey Krug on defense, and even though Jordan Binnington is nowhere near the player he seemed to be as the 2019 playoffs, he's still a pretty well-known player. Like a lot of people still believe he has great upside and great potential, and he does, I think. So I don't think he's underrated. My pick is Jordan Kyrou, and he has played very well this year so far. What do you think?
So I also thought Kyrou, although I feel like Vince Dunn, I feel like he's like people want to trade for him, so maybe he's not as underrated. So that's why I went with Kyrou. But like I feel like Kyrou, Sammy Blais, but yeah, Kyrou, definitely
Yeah.
Kyrie.
Anyway, LA Kings. I don't think that this one's going to be too crazy, but underratedly in my pick. Excuse me. I'm going with Adrian Kempe. Adrian Kempe has had a very quietly good season for the LA Kings. He's been on that top line for some time already. However, on the second line, he's been on the top power play unit for some time, and a lot of people don't realize how effective he's becoming and a good top six forward he's becoming for this team.
Oh, okay, you're done. So
yeah.
So I'm going with you know him, but you still don't think I'm going with Adrianus Athanasiou because I feel like it was big when Edmonton traded for him, but he didn't do so well. So it made me kind of worried. But we said the potential is good. So he has 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points in 19 games.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
So yeah, I'm giving it to Athanasiou.
Yeah, definitely want to give it to him. In terms of the Arizona Coyotes, I feel like there aren't really a ton of underrated players on this team. I feel like they're either just real. I feel like they're just really
either
bad.
really good or really bad. So
yeah. So this one was kind of tough. So I'll go ahead and pick Darcy Kemper because, similar to Anton Khudobin, that team's not very good or very bad, but he seems to be in the success. And a lot of people think it's really on Phil Kessel and Clayton Keller for scoring all the goals and Connor Garland on that team. And on the back end, obviously, you got guys like Alex Goligoski, Nicholas Chalmers, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. But Ekman-Larsson might be one of the more overrated players in the league right now. He's definitely not – I don't know if he's overrated, but he's definitely not underrated. And I feel like Darcy Kemper is kind of underrated because he's taken that next step, but I feel like he still doesn't get the attention he truly deserves now playing in Arizona.
I mean, yeah, it's kind
especially he's in an even tandem with Randle.
I don't think it's Kemper. I feel like he was really good enough on his own merits. I think it's Garland, or Schmaltz, Chychrun. I don't know. This team sucks. I don't care. Let's move on.
Anyway, San Jose Sharks, Joey. Who do you have?
So this team also has not had the best moments, but obviously you have a lot of players who stick out. So to me, even though he's on the first line, I gotta go with Kevin Labanc. I was thinking Timo Meier, but it's Kevin Labanc.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's enough to be said. He's an overall solid player. He got a nice extension not too long ago, and I'm excited to see what he does going forward. Provides speed, good shot, power play time. Think he kills penalties. Not 100% sure, but he's an overall just fun player to watch, and he's not dirty in his play either. As for Anaheim, who do you have? I think that this is an interesting team to look at.
Yeah, so they have so 2 guys that really just wow, for me personally. So it's Comtois, I think is how you say his name.
Comtois, yeah.
And Troy Terry. They're doing amazingly this year, and I did not think that Anaheim was going to have a good year at all because we all know it's Gibson, and that's really it. Obviously they have Fowler, who's solid.
And Shattenkirk and Getzlav.
And Raquel, but who the hell is going to score? So it's Troy Terry and Comtois. I don't know who to pick out of the 2, but one of those 2 definitely stepping up. So
yeah, I don't agree with you. I think Comtois would be one of the guys, but for me, it's actually Sam Steele, one of his line mates.
I know, but he's such a big prospect. He's not underrated. You expected.
I think he is. He was a big prospect and he's starting to kind of form chemistry with those third line mates of his. He sees time on the power play. He kills penalties every here and there. And I would have given it to Sonny Milano if he would be playing consistently, but for some reason he's just not always in the lineups, so I can't give it to him.
No, but anyway, saying, Sam Steele, it's like a Kako. He can't. He's too high of a prospect. I can't.
I really don't think. Even though he might have been a high prospect, he's not playing like it. So a lot of people have kind of drawn their attention.
I don't do that. I don't just write people off.
Maybe you don't, but that's me. That team, as you mentioned already, that's just.
Okay, fine.
That's just my opinion. No disrespect.
Okay, no problem.
Anyway, so Toronto. This is also a tough one because they all seem to be just very, very good. So who do you have?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick Justin Hall. I think he's having an amazing season. Although part of me want to give it to Zach Hyman. Although I don't know, he's on a really good line. So I don't know what his situation is, but yeah, Justin Hall. For sure.
I'm the exact opposite of you. I'm taking Zach Hyman. I would give an honorable mention to Justin Hall, but everyone also on that blue line is pretty solid. They just brought in TJ Brody, and you've already got Jake Muzzin on that line. They're pretty good. They're pretty good up front. I do want to give an honorable mention to Jason Spezza because he's obviously not the caliber.
He's not underrated.
But he's not underrated because of how well he's been playing this year. Hyman is a guy who plays well, but he kind of gets lost in the lineup with those Mitch Marners and Matthewses and Tavareses and Willie.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned him because it was definitely
maybe a guy like Alex Kerfoot also. Like I feel like Kerfoot might. I'm gonna change. I'd like Alex Kerfoot to be. I think he's more underrated
but whatever. Yeah.
Than Zach Hyman. Anyway, Winnipeg. Who you got, Joey?
So I feel like for me it's really simple. It's Kopp. I really like Kopp a lot. He's with Lowry and Ableton, but I like Andrew Kopp because all these other guys are just studs. We know who all these people are: Stastny, Scheifele, Wheeler, Ehlers, Dubois, Connor. And I feel like picking the defense would not be great because they all kind of suck. Like
right.
Pionk's fine.
I don't agree with you, but okay.
I think their defense is their weak spot, if we're being honest.
Well, I actually do have a guy on the defense as my pick, and this might shock you, but for me, it's actually Dylan DeMello. He's a guy. He's played in some situations where he's been on good teams, but the players around him have the players ahead of him have been pretty solid. Like when he was with San Jose, he was dealing with Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns and Marc-Edouard Vlasic. That's not easy competition to keep up with when you want to play on the top line. And he's not anymore in Winnipeg even because he still has guys ahead of him. He doesn't have Dustin Byfuglien anymore, but he did last year. And you're seeing guys now like Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk breaking out there. So for me, it's a guy like Dylan DeMello. He's another purely solid defenseman who plays on the second power play unit. Sometimes they'll switch him out with Morrissey and Pionk. So, but no, for me, it's Dylan DeMello.
Okay, Oilers, who you got?
Oilers. First of all, the last thing I wanted to mention, the Jets underrated. Like we know that offense is great, but as you realize, they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. Their defense and Connor Hellebuck, I know, but their defense has played a big part, and DeMello has to be given credit for that because he's been carrying a big load. So for me, it's DeMello.
Who you got for Oilers?
As for the Edmonton Oilers, it's got to be Kyler Yamamoto for me. I know that he's pretty hyped up, but he hasn't really been looked at by a lot of people. With all the Dreisaitl's, McDavids, and James Neals, and they brought in Kyle Turris, and now you've got Tyson Barrie on that team. Maybe a guy like Darnell Nurse also, but I feel like he's not so underrated. He's just an overall solid defenseman that people talk about out of random when it comes into that. Because he's not elite, and he's not bad enough that you could consider him underrated. That's just my opinion, though. So for me, it's Kyler Yamamoto.
I mean, I don't really like picking first liners on good teams. I just want doing it because saying they're underrated is kind of like an insult to the team. So I'm not going to do that.
Let me guess, you were thinking James Neal on that note?
No, he sucks.
Oh.
I was going to say, you know what I mean? The contract does not match.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing. So I wouldn't call it underrated. He'll never be underrated because of the contract.
But that falls into the same category as Eric Johnson for me. He's still a solid player.
Yeah, but he's not the most underrated player on the team. He just can't be. He's solid. You can always
No, I understand that, but I'm saying
a guy with that contract cannot be called underrated. He automatically.
You can't say a player sucks because their contract is bad though. Dak Prescott's contract, I think, is
awful.
I'm
not saying he sucks. I'm saying he sucks for his contract. That's what I mean. There's a difference.
Well, say his contract sucks then. Don't say
his contract does not match his play.
Okay, there you go. Now, who's your player for Edmonton?
Koskinen, because
okay.
Yeah, because if they don't have a good play,
everyone thinks about the offense that team has. I see that.
Exactly. I was thinking maybe Ethan Bear, but people kind of know Ethan Bear. So
yeah,
Koskinen.
He was good, very good last year.
Yeah, so Koskinen, without a doubt, because without him, this team's not gonna win. I know, they're obviously gonna make the playoffs with McDavid, Draisaitl, but they can't win without a good goalie. So he's gotta be a part of that. All right, Montreal, who you got?
I got Joel Armia. I know that you might say he's not underrated because he did have a pretty strong name for himself towards the end of his career in Winnipeg. And ever since Montreal, he's kind of been the same, but he's got a lot of guys ahead of him, like Philip Deneau, who hasn't been playing great, but we know he's got a lot more potential. And obviously, you got Brendan Gallagher, and they brought in Tyler Toffoli, and you've got Josh Anderson, who's a rock-solid power forward. Armia is one of those guys. He'll kill penalties. He scores shorthanded goals pretty often, for as often as you're going to score shorthanded. He's a very underrated skill player. He's got nasty handles. He's got excellent puck control, and he's just an overall good defensive forward. So that's why it's Armia for me.
I mean, I was also thinking Armia, maybe Josh Anderson, but he's on the first line. He's having a great season. I was thinking about Jake Allen because of what he's doing. But I went with Paul Byron.
Yeah, people know. Yeah. Oh, that's a good pick too. I
I went with
didn't
Paul
think
Byron for sure. Because
like
how many fourth liners have such a big impact on the game like Paul Byron?
Yeah,
very
he's like a Brandon
you know,
Tanev type player.
You got like your Brandon Tanev, your Ryan Reeves. Like he's like a guy. Like you can't count him out. So Paul Byron without a doubt for me. Flames, who do you got?
I've got Josh Levo in this one. This is a pretty interesting move. He was more of a depth scenario player for the Vancouver Canucks last year. But he's been playing in terms of the moments. I know the stats aren't massive on him. However, he comes in, fills a role. He's a hardworking guy he's got a nasty shot. I'll tell you that, nasty release. But he's not exactly the biggest guy out there, and he tends to be forgotten behind the guys like Monahan and even the depth guys, not the stars like Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm, but more the depth guys you see in the lineup like Sam Bennett and the guys who used to be there like Mark Jankowski, who's not on that team anymore, but still. And oh man, there's another really obvious name that I'm forgetting about. Oh my gosh, Mete or something like that. I don't remember. But either way, he's not like a top skill player you look to provide on that team. And he comes in there. He's a hard worker. He's kind of like a Brandon Tanev to me, but he doesn't have that aggressiveness that Tanev has. We know he could fly, and we know he's got a nasty release, but I think he's a little like cleaner, if that makes sense with his play. But yeah, it's Josh Levo for me.
Yeah, so I was going to say Lucic, but he has the same problem as Neil, so obviously no.
He's got the worst contract in the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously,
forwards,
definitely not him. Sam Bennett, I really want to say, but I feel like a lot of people know him, so I want to say Andrew Mangiapane.
Yeah, he was the other guy I was thinking of.
Andrew Mangiapane is who I picked for sure. This dude is just really good. He had a great playoffs. It was him, Bennett and Lucic, or was it Dubé? But yeah,
Dubé was the guy. It was not Mete. Mete plays for the Canadians.
Right. So it's Mangiapane for sure. Without a doubt. Okay, 2 more and we're done because I gotta go. So
yeah, I don't blame you. This is taking a little longer than I expected. So
you really wanted to do it this week, so we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously that in the big news. So anyway, Vancouver Canucks, I'm going with Brandon Sutter, and I know he might not come off as underrated, but for the role he's had in his entire NHL career, he's never been more than like a third line center, maybe second line at best, but probably not because he spent time in Pittsburgh when they had Malkin in his prime and Crosby in his prime. So I don't think he spent any more time than on the third line, unless he played wing, but I don't think that was the case. And that was way back. That was I think 2015-16 was his last year with Pittsburgh. In terms of that, though, he's a rock solid player, great penalty killer, excellent when it comes to providing depth for his team. A lot of people forget about him. He's a guy who chips away. He's got good speed, size, and he's not an aggressive player. He'll draw penalties. He's on the penalty kill, as I mentioned. He does everything just about that a depth player does, but I feel like he needs more recognition because of how long he's doing it for and how he's never skipped a beat in his game. And with all the Brock Bessers and Quinn Hughes and JT Millers and obviously Elias Pettersson's on that team, he kind of falls off the radar for me. So that's why it's Brandon Sutter.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick him because, we know who he is. So I feel like I wasn't a big fan. So in terms of underrated, it's this kind of team is a little confusing. So I had to pick someone who you heard of, but not really. Niels Hoglander, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points in 31 games. It's not amazing, but when we're talking underrated here, you have JT Miller, you have Brock Besser, you have.
Yeah, I don't want to pick a rookie. I apologize to interrupt, but I didn't really want to pick a rookie in this case because he's a very I don't know what to think of him yet. That's why.
That's why, because I don't think there's a good answer on this team. I know you're saying Brandon Sutter, but come on, man. We all know who Brandon Sutter is.
I don't think we do. But okay.
I don't know, man. I remember those playoffs against the Blackhawks, him and Horvat and Burrows. I remember all of them. So I know
Sutter wasn't on that team.
You sure about that?
He was with the Penguins before. He was with the Penguins from 2000 and earlier in the
decade. Something because I know who he is. So he must have been in a part of a bad.
In 2014, 15, 15, 16 was his last 2 years on the Penguins.
I'm trying to think.
I'm telling you, he's only been with the Canucks for 2 or 3 years.
Well, he must have done something. He must have gotten in a fight or had a crazy goal or something. Because I definitely have seen that jersey before. So I don't know. It's
Well,
probably just
either
because
way,
it might just be the Sutter thing. There's a lot of Sutters. Brent Sutter, Daryl Sutter. So
yeah, who
might
knows?
just be that. Okay, and then the
I
worst
don't know.
team, and then what I
But
think is probably the worst team in
yeah,
the NHL, Ottawa Senators. Who do you got?
you can go ahead first with this one since
Yeah,
you've seen
for
that.
me, listen, you can't obviously pick the guys you know about, Thomas Chabot and Kachuk. So I just picked, the guy that I thought stood out to me. Um, like just sorry, voice is cracking a little, and that for me is Colin White. 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points, 26 games. That means like every other game he has a point. So it's not bad. Not bad for a guy on the worst team in the league. So good for him. Yeah. Not
Well, I
easy.
don't know if they're the worst team in the league because Detroit hasn't exactly been very good this year either, and they've made more moves, I think, than Ottawa has to improve their team. But I am going to tell you,
I think they made the same amount of moves. I mean, Matt Murray, Dadonov.
yeah, that's true.
You know,
Now, I was going to pick Dadonov, but now he seems like a superstar because he's on like one of the worst teams in the league. If he would have
exactly.
stayed with
So he's not
Florida,
underrated because
yeah, he's not underrated now. Now he's making like he's drawing a lot more attention. If he would have stayed with Florida, I would have said him, but no. For me, this might shock you a little bit. It's Nick Paul. Nick Paul is a very good penalty killer. He's a centerman. He played the left wing too. He spends time on the third line, but he's a depth scorer, and I feel like he's very underrated. He provides something a lot of third line centermen don't provide, and that's his size. Normally, when you have a guy as tall as he is, I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", something like that, and he's got a very, very smooth release on his wrist shot. I think it's worth noting that you put those big guys on, whether the defense or offense on the top line because you want guys who could protect the puck and dish it out and make plays in their own or obviously in the other zone of their defense. As for like the third line, I can't really think of many third line centermen who have the characteristics on like physique that he does and the way he adapts to play. Obviously, the Senators aren't a great team, so he's not getting a lot of recognition with that. Most of the guys are on their prized possessions in Tim Stützle and Sanderson, who's in their prospect pool still coming up. And obviously, you've got Colin White, who you mentioned, who is underrated, but I think he's going to bounce back. He's going to still continue to get better. And they've had guys like Bobby Ryan and Anisimov play with these guys, but they're still the guys, despite when they were veterans, drawing all this attention for some reason. I think Paul deserves some more recognition, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him, work his way up higher up into the lineup going forward. I think he definitely has the capability. He's a young player, so we'll see where it is going forward with him.
yeah, I mean, like you said, third line center. I automatically went to two guys, one in the past, one in the present. Nick Bonino, to me, is the ultimate third line center. Just like there. I mean, it's kind of unfair because he I know him playing with Crosby and Malkin, but still, this guy
It's
is
not easy, right? And then playing with Daniel Sedin and Henrik Sedin isn't easy either when he was on Vancouver. So
right. So, and now he's with Nashville, who have Ryan Johansson, or he used to be, who had Ryan Johansson and I think Matt Duchene then. So, yeah, so it's not easy for him. And then one you just talked about, Mikael Blackland, big third line guy. I mean, you have to go behind Sean Monahan and Elias Lindholm. So props to you, man. Because that's tough. That's really tough. And he's a great center. So
yeah.
And now that they got I don't know if we talked about it a lot, but they got Daryl Sutter back.
Yeah, we did last week.
We might see some big things from this Flame group. So yeah. And I think we're done because I'm tired. It's been over 2 hours. So wrap it up.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Comment in the comment section down below what you think, what you want to see going forward of our podcast. We like doing it for you and we want to hear back from you. And thank you all for tuning in. If you stayed the entire time, then you are an absolute trooper and we greatly appreciate it. Leave a like on the video, like and subscribe. And we will see you next time for the JJ Sports Podcast. For the final time, tuning off, I'm Josh.
And I'm Joey.